make a girl a promise. If you know you can't keep it. They let me pick. Did I ever tell you that? Choose whichever Spartan I wanted. You know me. I did my research, watched as you became the soldier we needed you to be. Like the others, you were strong and swift and brave. A natural leader. But you had something they didn't. Something no one saw but me. Can you guess? Luck. Was I wrong? Don't make a girl a promise.
Welcome everybody to the Xbox Series podcast, episode number something or other. I'm not a counter. I'm here for I don't even know why I'm here, but Xbox Series podcast episode 15. Thank you, Neil. We're going to get straight into it. So thank you everyone that's already come here, is supporting us. Gamzly, you can release the smile because I want to go to you first and find out how you've been this week. How are you doing, Gamzly?
I'm good. You know, I thought I was gonna be in my new place by now, but I didn't switch to internet connection. So I noticed like 45 minutes ago that I had to hotspot myself and that wasn't gonna work. So I came back to this place where my internet is solid and I'm ready to talk games and ready to yell at Kevin. I mean Neil. I mean Deadly. And yeah, you know, let's go. Let's do this.
You held your intro pose so effectively that episode 13 thought you had broken. He says that you're frozen. Just because of that creepy smile that you like to hold. So good job on that one. Deadly Headley, how's your week been?
You know what? For a guy named Neil, not that bad. It's been all right. It's been all right. Could be better, could be worse. It's gone okay. And I was just explaining to the guys, I've come straight back from a deep tissue massage, which feels awesome, but pain is life and life is pain, so we work through those things and we're fine. How are you, Asa?
Oh my goodness, I hadn't thought about that. I'm brilliant. I've had a pretty good week. You know, there's been all this like boring fiscal update talk throughout the week, and I did my Q&A show yesterday like I always do, where we just have a conversation with the community, and I said from the off, that stuff's really boring, and we talked about Sega Worldwide Soccer and dual wielding in the arcades instead, and I had a wonderful time. This community, I go onto Twitter and it's like, it's soul crushingly lame the conversations that go on there are just like, really, are we doing this again? And then I come into this community and have conversations with people, and it's so much fun. So for that reason, my week has been pretty good. Thank you for asking, and thank you everybody that is here. That is the reason that my week has been good. That I'm feeling good about that. That's
good to hear.
That's so sweet. That's so sweet.
It's sweet, isn't it? Isn't that nice? Showing such love for our
Keep
amazing
sucking
community.
up to us, please. I love it.
And just
Where's the potatoes?
passive aggressively pointing out how we're all really, really bored of fiscal talk again.
Mm-hmm. I just want more potatoes. Yeah. Hey, I have a question, Asa. When are we doing that co-op? Because speaking of your Q&A, Asa, I heard you saying something about co-oping Brotato. I mean, when's that happening? When is that coming out? So I don't know when to have a garden of potatoes right next to me, ready to go.
Gamzly, if I were to go to anyone to find out when the Brotato update is, it would be you. It's your game, so I would go to you and ask that question. But in terms of when we're going to play it co-op, I'm begrudgingly agreeing to do it. Right, we're going to do co-op at some point in time where I really am just like a little bit overtired, because then I can like multitask. I can play Brotato. I can catch up on my sleep at the same time. So yeah, whenever that works for you.
You need to get through it with a smile. Is that the plan?
No smile, eyes closed, get some R&R, as they say.
He has no choice. Like he said, we're just going to force it down his throat.
Let's talk about some games, shall we? Like, not Brotato related games. Let's talk about some games that we've been playing. Gamzly, you normally come in with quite a big list of things that you've been playing for the week. What you got for us today?
Unfortunately, I started this week strong, but then I got super busy with like life stuff that I completely dropped my gaming and went into more of a junk food mode. So I've been playing my regular stuff like Path of Exile, League of Legends. I've jumped into Final Fantasy XIV just for a little bit. I haven't progressed heavily on that as much as I wanted to. But then I jumped on Hades 2 again, and I've been having a blast. I'm almost complete a single run. So, my god, I can't wait until that comes out, but I'll save the talk when the release date actually comes in, and we could do like a full little preview on it, or maybe a small review on it, but and our thoughts on it. So I'm going to keep that for a later date. But then I jumped into Hellblade 1 because we got all that apparent hype for Hellblade 2, which is 0. I'm joking. There's almost 0 hype for it. So I'm going to try to hype in the mood there. And I've been playing the first one again because it wasn't my type of game when it came out. You know my stance on this cinematic kind of style of game. It's not my thing anymore. But I gave it another try because I wanted to refresh my memory, and the story's just good, Asa. I mean, how it tells the story is great. The sound is great. Everything about that world is pretty great, except for, the not so fantastic, action combat that comes around with it. I've been enjoying it. I've been lying down. So I was having a hard time getting into it again, but I used the opportunity with my little cuddle time with Cleo, where we just lie down in bed and we play some video games together. And I used that time because she was like, "Hey, I know you're trying to play this game and you're having a hard time getting into it. What if I just watch it? Because I'm pretty interested in it." Cleo, if you're watching, you're my inspiration to continue playing this game and have an open mind about it again. She was in psychology, so she was curious about this. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'll use that curiosity and we could talk about it together. And we've been having a great time with it. So yeah, that was my into this game again, and she's heavily interested in it, so it's making me more interested in it. So I'm having a blast doing that. I should be finished in about maybe 3 hours, about 3 hours. So in 3 more hours, I should be getting to the end of it because I'm very close. So yeah, I've been playing that. Nothing really else to say this week, unfortunately. I've been watching a lot more things as well. Like I said, I've been playing my junk food games, and I take that opportunity to have something on the side playing on my TV, like anime and stuff like that. So I've been really enjoying Avatar: The Last Airbender again. So I've been jumping into that, watching that TV show. And I've been watching some kaiju. That's some cool stuff. So yeah, so that's my week so far. Next week I'll definitely have much more to play and much more to preview, because that's the big Hellblade 2 release, and I'll probably have it done by the time. What does it come? It comes out before Thursday, right?
Comes out on Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah,
Comes out Tuesday, so I'm gonna grind that out and make sure I have a good solid preview, or some sort of topic on it for Thursday. That's what my next week's gonna be like.
nice.
So yeah.
I really like that you've been able to share that experience with Cleo as well. That's really cool. And again, her interest in psychology is obviously a really interesting angle for her in terms of understanding Hellblade's portrayal of psychosis. So yeah, that's really cool that, like, even if she's not necessarily interested in playing it, that cinematic experience really comes through, and there's definitely going to be a lot more of that with Hellblade 2 as well.
Yeah, it's definitely lovely. It's definitely a lovely thing, because she's noticing some stuff that I haven't noticed. And she also, it's just another reason, right, to get through it. She was heavily interested in it. She's not a hardcore cinematic gamer. She's not even a hardcore gamer. She loves Switch. She plays Nintendo games, but she was really interested in the first one from the very beginning. It's just that we never really got around to it together. So this time around, she's been pushing me, and I'm enjoying it more.
Well, make sure you let her watch the documentary as well, because it goes into quite a lot of depth.
That's next.
On all of the presentation and why it is the way that it is, and makes you kind of appreciate the bits that you hate a little bit more, I think. That was my experience of it anyway. So if anybody has played it and not watched the included documentary, there's a reason that they have them stupid runic puddles, all those puzzles that everybody hates, and they're quite well explained away in there. I've seen
what is this, Spider-Man?
People. yeah, all them reflections. I've seen a lot of people going back to Hellblade 1 in preparation for 2, like in the way that's normal. There's a sequel coming out, you want to brush up on the story, be ready for the new one, and all the rest of it. For me, I'm not going to do that, because my like lingering memory of it was the darkness of that game, and that it was actually a bit of a slog to get through. I loved it for what it was, but it's not something that I would experience again for fun's sake. So fortunately for me, there is I think on the Xbox YouTube channel, they put out today a catch-up, like a 20-minute video or something, maybe shorter than that, catch-up with the events of the first one. So if you're like me, and you have maybe played it at the time, would use a refresher, but don't want to go through that 8 hours of darkness again, maybe check that out. That's my plan for it.
Yeah. I don't want to go off it just yet. I don't think that it's totally dreadful, though. Like, I mean, yes, it's a slog to get through, but it's the puzzles, right? It's the puzzles for me. I want to go deeper down. What do you mean by, like, it's a slog to get through? It's heavily emotional, or it's like,
yeah, it's an emotional slog. It's not
around
it's just quite crushing and oppressive. You've got this voice in your head constantly, and you've got those sections that take away your vision and things like that, like the darkness that you're pressing through. It's just a tense game, and that kind of atmosphere is like, because it does what it does very, very well. I don't think there were many occasions I can't remember how long it takes, like 8-10 hours, whatever it was, to get through. I don't think 8. You would have caught me smiling within that time frame. And I don't say that as a criticism of the game. It's just, it's not what it's aiming for. It is aiming to hit you in the feels more and make you think. And it does it. And it's brilliant, and I respect it as art.
Do that. I really appreciate games that do that, because I hear I've heard a few people on this kind of podcast circuit talk about how they didn't, and I'm sorry, Gamzly, but I'm going to bring it up. They did.
Oh no, he fell.
He's not going to bring it up.
It's off. It is actually. Oh, yeah, it is off. A lot of people in this podcast space have talked before about how they don't like The Last of Us 2, not because of like the story specifically, but like it's a pretty bleak, emotionally heavy experience. And if that the experience and story in itself sort of takes a toll on you, it's not necessarily like a quote unquote enjoyable experience. But I still maintain that it's one of my favorite games ever made, because it made me feel so much that video games just haven't made me feel in the same way. So I respect it when a game doesn't necessarily just prioritize fun, as games are literally in the traditional sense, but it, these new we're in this era where games can experiment with different themes and different emotions and different objectives. It's not necessarily about gameplay, but the story and the message and the experience is being told.
It's
Yeah,
something that's I've said that quite a lot, because we refer to them as games. People have this expectation that fun is the goal, it's the objective, and they love Nintendo because their games are all about fun, and that's the essence of what a video game is. And as it matures, I stand by games as just the best medium for storytelling, and saying that they all have to be fun is to me akin to saying that all books have to be fun, and it's not true. And as it matures, we'll hopefully see them explore all kinds of moods and vibes and targets. And it is an art form, and that's not to say I don't respect the ones that are just pure fun. By all means, I'm happy to spend my time having fun. Everybody is, but games can be so much besides as well. Gamzly,
You hate Brotato. You hate fun. Just admit it. You don't like fun.
how are those two things remotely linked?
No, it's fascinating to hear like that, like from both of you. Both of you bring up like the grim nature of Hellblade, and especially Headley's like your comparison with like Last of Us Part 2. It's intriguing because for me, I don't feel the same dread. I just feel slow. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel just heavy and slow, and I'm like, come on, let's go. Let's get to the next beat. Let's do the thing. And it's always holding you back in that way. So I have like a different look on it. I love like when we do get to those like combat scenes and a big story beat, it's wonderful. But I what I don't like about it is that slowness to it. That's what's so heavy on me, is like it's just a little too slow. The pace is a little bit too slow, and then I get what they're trying to do because they're giving you story like in between, and everything is supposed to be like that, and you're supposed to, feel that, feel the world and its dread and environments and all that stuff, and you're in your head, so it's, it needs to be told somehow, but it's a little too slow for me. But the second one,
no, go on. Second one, carry on.
The second one, for I feel bad for, let's say, the people that love these types of experiences, because the second one's going to be just as slow, if not slower. So yeah.
I did.
And I can't wait
because
for
I'm a
the
nice guy. Because I want the best for other people that are playing these games. Do you remember when Hellblade came out? The game introduces this concept that the corruption, every time you die in the game, the corruption's going to spread,
Yes.
and if you die too many times, then it's over. Senna's just not going to beat her demons. And I remembered that being the vibe, and I know everybody knows that it doesn't play out like that, right? Which isn't a spoiler. It's just like, sadly, the internet caught on that is just for atmosphere and mood. But I went into Lord Addict was streaming it, so I just dropped in there and I was like, oh, that corruption's spreading quite far up your arm. How many times have you died? Just left it at that, like just to enhance his experience, just to hopefully drop that back in there and make him think it's going to be all over soon. Best way to play it. Add to the tension. I'm a nice guy.
Just stir the pot a little bit. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what they did with everything. I love how complicated it is, because it is complicated. It's way more complicated than people know that haven't finished that game. If you picked up Hellblade 1 and you haven't finished it, or you haven't figured out what happens, with certain mechanics, it's worth it. It's complex, and Cleo's really good at pointing some things out, and I appreciate that. So This game is definitely an experience, and I can't wait for the second one. And when the second one comes out, guys, hopefully you play the first one first, or go through your little YouTube channels and figure out, like, look at second opinions or a playthrough or whatever it is. However you experience it, I hope you I hope that you have conversations with friends as well. If after you play it, go into a Discord, have some discussions with some friends and communities. It'll add to the experience too, because it really is something. But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Update from me actually. The guys that I was talking about last week that I went to uni with, one of them, Josh, is actually playing through Hellblade 1 at the moment, which I haven't finished, and I don't think I'm going to get the time to finish Hellblade 1 before I start Hellblade 2, because I would also like to be a part of that discussion and get some first impressions in by the time we go live next week. But yeah, I'm
you're
really
banned if you haven't finished Hellblade 1, then you're not allowed on. Sorry, like, get it done. You've got time. It's a short game. Get it done.
I love how optimistic you are about my time management. I really appreciate that.
Well, stop playing The Last of Us Part fucking 3.
I haven't played The Last of Us 2 in ages, Gamzly.
It's gonna be a running joke forever.
Like 2, but there are too many other games to play.
I know. I get you, man. Yeah, so I'm gonna drop the Hellblade talk, but I'm very interested in the second one even more. So yeah, I can't wait.
Well, good.
Nice.
Headley, I know that your main game that you want to talk about is Starfield, and we're going to move that into a proper topic shortly. So I'm going to just barge in and talk about something that I've been playing just before this show, because I found it quite interesting. Do you remember? I can't remember if it was a week back or two when we were looking at trailers from the various indie showcases. And oh no, Patrick's gifted 5 memberships. Patrick, you're a legend. Thank you for doing that. And everyone that's got there, come along into our Discord, see what it's like. It's a good time. We were looking at trailers for the indie games, and there was one that jumped out. It surprised me because I'd heard of it. Didn't realise that it was like up my alley until I really watched the trailer for the sequel, and that was Tales of Iron 2. And while I was watching it, I said at the time, like, the art style for this is really jumping out at me. It's a vibe that I hope
Tales of Iron
kind of replaces
Towers?
pixel art. Tales of Iron, yeah.
You definitely said tower.
I definitely didn't, but
okay,
I do
you're
mumble
English.
sometimes.
It's
So
fine.
we'll go with that. I've got like a mouthful of ham or whatever. Anyway, I went and got the first one. So at the moment, and this is why it's a relevant recommendation. At the moment on the Xbox store, it's like £5.84, so $6 or something if you're going to go look at picking it up. And I was playing it today, and I actually really enjoyed it. So it's
Nice,
you
nice.
probably I should probably bring up a trailer. I'm not going to. I'm a lazy ham-mouthed idiot. So it starts, and I hated it. The first like 5-10 minutes, it's got this gorgeous art style. It's like cardboard cutout characters running around doing all this cool stuff. It's got really nice weather. I like it when there's storms and fires and all this kind of stuff. It's got all of that going on, but it's really like unresponsive. The first movements that you make are like, oh, I expected a snappy, responsive, like Ori Zhao kind of experience for it, and it's not. It's heavy. Like, the movement is heavy. And then you talk to the characters on there, and they have this horrible like tooty whistle thing instead of words that was like, it's piercing my ears and it's heavy to move. I hate this game. And then after like 10 minutes of playing it, you've got Doug Cockle, so some Geralt of Rivia narration, which adds a lot to it. The narrator is Geralt, telling you what's going on in the story as you're playing through.
I cut you off right there for a second.
You absolutely cannot. No, you can. Go for it.
Damn it. Just to cut you off before I lose that thought, the narrator, it's funny that you bring this up because I love it. I was waiting to see, that's why I asked you play, let's say, Bastion, and I'm curious about what you think about the narrator, because in Bastion, the narration really pushes it forward, and for some people it was annoying, so I'm really interested in what you're going to think about that game. But since you're talking about this, I'm excited for you, but continue. Sorry, before I lost my thought.
No,
that's about that.
You've also, like, there's a tangent that I want to go on around the Hades voices as well. So pin that, and I'll come back to it in a second. So Tales of Iron, once it gets going and you start getting through the combat and all the rest of it, and you get used to the weightiness and start getting into the depth of like the equipment systems that it's got, and the feel of the combat, which is, it's quite unlike anything else that I've played, really, in terms of the way that it feels to fight. And that might just be me because I'm not a massive connoisseur of the 2D fighting games. But like, it's heavy but kind of generous in the way that it usually favors you if you're attempting to parry or dodge something. So that gives it a good little feeling. It makes you feel like you're quite successful in fighting these things. It does have a level of challenge to it. Right from the off, you've got this slow, heavy one-on-one combat with a shielded toad in front of you that takes a little bit of time. Like, each of them takes a bit of time to beat, even the simple basic enemies, but they're never alone. There's always some little bastard archer that you can't get to, just to make sure that you need to focus all over the place just to have a chance. And it's really neat, and it's got these really satisfying executions when you do win your heavy combat fights, which you don't expect from the 2D side scroller games. But you've got that Souls like ram the sword into their spine moment, and you go, yes, and got 'em.
Satisfying.
Your character ends up covered in frog blood and all the rest of it, and I'm like, oh. I wasn't expecting this to be something I enjoyed in this way, because it sells itself as being like a difficult 2D Souls-like game, and I thought, oh, 2D Souls-like, not sure that's gonna be for me, but it's £5.84. I'll give it a go.
Wow.
And I really liked it. I want to go back and play some more of it. So if you're unsure of that one, if it sounds remotely appealing, it's cheap right now. So I'd recommend giving it a go. But
I'm so happy that you liked it, because when we had that little showcase thing and I called it out, like the second one out, I know you don't like the 2D stuff, and I know you don't like the Souls-y kind of stuff as well. So I was very hesitant to recommend it, but I'm so glad that you like it. You know what? You shut the fuck. No, I'm so glad that you like it, so that we have two people recommending something, so at least the audience will listen. Hey, go listen, go play this game. You understand that? Asa recommends it. Go play it. He said it. He said it's a 10 out of 10 game. Go play it. Go do it. Anyways, so yeah, thank you for playing that. it really does. It had like a very, I don't know how many people developed this game, but I'm pretty sure it was below 5. Like 5 whole people. So it's an interesting game, and they did well on it. So go pick it up if you can.
Yeah, and while I'm just bringing up the stream so you can see how happy I was playing it. But you mentioned the narration in Bastion. Would you say the narrator in that game is familiar from the other Supergiant games?
Yes.
They have this they have a definite tendency to use the same people, but I learned something by a complete coincidence while I was looking at who's involved in these games. There's a chap called Darren Korb, who is the composer for all of Supergiant's games. So from Bastion to Transistor, Pyre, Hades, and Hades 2, right? And he's brilliant. I call him out in the review that I did for Pyre because he's a fantastic composer. But he doesn't work outside of Supergiant as far as I can tell. He's their composer who composes for their games and nothing else. And his music adds so much to all of them. But I saw his Twitter account and it was like, oh, he's also the voice of Zagreus. So he'd worked as a composer for Supergiant across all of their games, and then they were like, oh, I have a crack at this voice acting, and nailed that as well. Like, what an interesting studio they are. A lot of their voices, and the reason I asked if the narrator from Bastion is familiar from the other games is it's very likely they use the same people. They've got a very tight-knit group from the looks of things that they bring in for game after game.
That is an interesting question, and I'm pretty sure he has some root, like the voice actor they used for the narration does have lineage with the other games. For sure, I know that for sure. I just don't know if it's a character voice or a whatever. I'm pretty sure he does. Don't quote me on that, but from knowledge of before, I'm pretty sure. It's a great... Bastion was so fun to me, and it was so unique when it came out. I love the art style. I'm curious if you're gonna like the combat, though. I'm a little iffy on if you're gonna like the combat specifically, but I don't know. We'll see. You gotta play that. I'm really curious to see if you like the narration and the jokes and the subtleties of it. If you like everything else about Supergiant, you're probably gonna like that too. So I'm curious. Hurry up and play it so we could talk about it.
Bastion, I've not got time to play it at the moment. Too much going on. Let me bring up my little clip while we're talking. No, No, I don't.
Yeah.
It's my little rat running around. This is this is not a good clip that I brought up, not a good moment of the stream, but trust me, I was having fun while this was going on. There we go, stab them frogs. If you are listening to this audio, like, it is what it is, stab them frogs.
The art style's really nice.
It is, isn't it? And
So
the combat,
pretty.
like, it is weighty and slow, and it looks like I'm going to die. No, I'm not, I'm fine. Mash them to the floor, give them a good killing.
Seeing a lot of this sort of illustrative style come back in as opposed to sort of pixel art or something similar, and yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, I genuinely had a lot of fun with this game, and I didn't go into it with particularly high expectations. I thought I would just die a lot and kind of hate it and then move on, but that execution, good fun. Recommended, and then I jumped onto Diablo 4 as well, so I figured I haven't touched that since maybe Season 1 came out. I still haven't finished the campaign on it. Typically when I play that game, I take a big break from it because it frustrates me. I don't like the character development. I don't like the lack of options and flexibility in how I build my little sorcerer up. So I play it for a while, really enjoy it, get frustrated by it, stop playing, take a few months off, go back to it, really enjoy it. And it's like a recurring process. I can tell that I'm going to get bored of it again. But I happened to go right back onto it before quite a dramatic story beat and boss fight. And I was like, oh, this game's brilliant. And I can feel that I'm in that phase of really liking it. And I'm going to play it a bunch for a few days. And then
Tell me. Which one?
Crystal in his head guy.
Oh.
No, I did that. It's not like a spectacular fight in itself, but the atmosphere and the design of them, because you've got Lilith obviously standing around and he's like a pet demon for a little while. She makes some kind of deal with him. He's called like something beginning with A, I can't remember. Archibald something or other. He's got a big like Cerberus-y dog that he rides. He's got horns. He's got an orange crystal in his head.
Oh yes. Okay. That's like the big. Oh my god, I freaking love that. I love that whole
the end
arc.
of Act 2.
That whole arc was awesome. That whole arc was awesome. For you in the chat that haven't played Diablo and got to that part, oh my god, it's so fun. It's one of the most fascinating arcs in the whole thing. Every time they bring in old kind of characters, I eat it all up. Like characters with lineage inside. I grab that. So that was one of my favorite parts of Diablo. So shout out to you. Are you going to continue? Like, are you going to push through?
Yeah, at the moment, I'm really liking it. And I'm sure I'm going to get to a point where the loot frustrates me again. The character building frustrates me again. And I've stopped before getting to the end. But my plan for it is I really like playing the Diablo games on hardcore mode. Because I find it adds so much to the experience to just die chaotically and feel regret. So I want to finish the campaign through before I start rolling hardcore characters.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's my plan for it.
Do you? Oh my god! I have a horror story
Astaroth,
about
I should know that.
hardcore. Actually, yeah. I started in hardcore. Like that's what I did. I love hardcore in all Diablos. I feel like it's a necessity. It's almost like Fire Emblem, where I'm like, I gotta play this in hardcore. If my guys die, it's part of the thing, right? I get sad and I cry. So in this, I always start, and I started it, and I was doing flawless. Everything was fine. I got kick-ass gear. I was like, man, this is lovely. And then I got to Lilith at the final part, and I didn't know that she has a one-shot kill ability. And it wasn't telegraphed at all. And then I lagged, and she got me.
Oh, I got to throw that
right at the final.
There.
Right at the.
I messed up.
No. I promise you, it was a lag. It was a very convenient lag spike that I've never seen before, and I stalled and I dodged out, but it rubber banded me into an area because it was an area effect one-shot kill. I didn't.
I'm not going to put an actual poll up because the questions box is already there. But just shout out if you hear in chat right now, lag or skill issue.
Fuck.
What do you reckon?
You know what? Oh man, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah, it's a skill issue, all right? I my finger couldn't reach the freaking button in time, all right? You feel bad now, guys? I only got 2 fingers, all right? I only got 2 fingers. I couldn't reach the freaking dodge button, all right? I couldn't do it. No, it was definitely a skill issue. But yeah, I died right before the last boss, right before killing her, because all you gotta do is kill her, do one more little thing, and then it's the end of the game. So I died right there, and I had to restart, and yeah. But anyways,
really
they have a update apparently that does a lot to the loot. So did you read any of that?
So we had some people like trying to inform me about it because I didn't really read it. I heard that they were revamping the loot, and I wasn't a big fan of the loot system, so I was glad. I was like, oh, we're going to suddenly get really cool stuff dropping. But actually, what they're revamping is more to do with how you like extract and apply things that are on the items, which didn't immediately make me think, oh, this is going to be brilliant. But somebody explained it to me yesterday in chat that actually it's more about farming the legendary items that do have quite interesting shit going on. So actually, you can kind of build your dream weapon if you play it right and get the right drops and all that kind of stuff. So it might work out, but typically, I don't actually very much care about the end game in any Diablo. I like to get through the campaign with a hardcore character, die chaotically, probably never see the end, and I'm satisfied. I don't really like the farming grindy bit at the end. But
do you think that at some point Blizzard will look at their competition, i.e. like Path of Exile 2, etc., etc. Do you think they'll look there and be like, let's go back to the like 1-point skill like system, like attribute system? Like, do you think they're gonna go back, roll it back, and go to more like old school sensibilities, kind of like No Rest for the Wicked did, where it's attribute based?
Presumably, you don't mean within 4 though, right? You're talking like a Diablo 5, I assume, or are you thinking a complete overhaul of this one?
Any. It could be any. It could be now, later. I don't know. Do you think they like really look at them and be like, let's do this thing? Or maybe it's a different genre and maybe it's a different title entirely. Maybe they make like a Warcraft version of this game. But like, do you think they go back to attribute systems instead of just sheer itemization and scaling?
No, I don't.
No,
they're all about streamlining, I think. Which is like, there's pros and cons to their approach to doing that, but a lot of people were big fans of like World of Warcraft having its resistances and things like that became completely irrelevant over time. It's all streamline, and very rarely step back to depth and complexity.
Yeah, remember in World of Warcraft where you just had to have like pure fire resistance gear? It was so fun, but as a tank anyway. But it was pure fun, man. I wish they do. I hope they do. But yeah, Diablo 4 getting a big update. I'm glad you're back on it. Anything else you're playing?
No, that's probably enough. I think, for now. There are other things that I've been playing this week, but those are the ones that I feel like talking about right now because I want to know. Deadly Head has been sitting very patiently, and he's got all of the information on the Starfield update. So he went back to Starfield before the patch dropped in anticipation of all of the extra frames that he would be seeing shortly. But I know that you said, Deadly Headley, you don't have a variable refresh rate screen, so you can't take advantage of that, and you were like concerned about the screen tearing and all the rest of it. This time, you've got your hands on it. You've been playing. How have you been finding it?
I have really enjoyed my time in the Starfield update this morning. I didn't get to spend a huge amount of time on it, but I did manage to find enough time to really commit myself to getting some first impressions down. There is one other game that I want to talk about before I go into Starfield, so excuse me for the very awkward segue. But Asa, you have been playing it too, and that was Halo Infinite with the Gaming Arcadia community on Saturday night. That was very, very fun. I really enjoyed that. Also, while we are talking community and other things, I'm going to remind everybody listening live after the fact to hit that like button and show us some support that way, because it massively helps the channel grow and helps the visibility of the podcast. Also, if you're listening on audio, if you could give us a review on your preferred audio platform, that would really help us out too, because we seem to be growing very well and that's very exciting. So we're just going to try and keep that moving. Self-promotion crap aside, let's talk Starfield. So the 60 FPS mode feels really, really good. That's the top line. It is not perfect. It is not locked, but it feels profoundly better than 30. And honestly, the few sort of frame drops or little hitches that I see here and there, I was getting those on Starfield at 30 anyway, in some sort of intensive loading parts and stuff like that. So broadly speaking, it feels so much better, and it just feels more current as a result. So I've really appreciated the 60 FPS patch right off the start. It still looks really good. I think I may get this slightly wrong, but I think Digital Foundry said that it's running an internal resolution of 900p, but it's upscaled to close to 4K. So it does look fairly sharp on a big screen, which is nice. The interior lighting still looks really good. Textures look really, really good. Visually, the 30 FPS mode is definitely a step up, but you would expect that with it literally being the quality mode. I've really enjoyed my time with the launch version, but the quality of life updates are sort of a noticeable improvement as soon as you start exploring them. So generally, broadly speaking, very, very pleased with it. I think the only sort of frame rate thing that does bug me a little bit, and this is really, really picky, and it actually goes back to, so we've talked before about was it the third Hobbit movie that had that high frame rate mode or high refresh rate mode?
Yeah.
And it looked really, really weird. The one beef that I have with it is that the cinematic moments, namely, I'm going to say when your ship takes off and lands on planets, that actually looks quite nice at 30. And when you see that at 60, for some reason, that for me looks a little bit weird. But when you're actually in gameplay, it feels really, really nice. I've seen episode 13 in the chat has asked about 40 FPS. I don't have a 120 hertz TV. So because 60 hertz is not divisible by 40, or not easily anyway, I can't enjoy that. I would really, really like to know what 40 plays like. I can imagine that's a really nice way to play, but as it goes, I'm really happy with 60. The gameplay tweaks that offer you a custom experience in Starfield are really good as well, in terms of just being able to curate your experience a little bit and really sort of craft your own XP journey, so you can make the game easier or harder in exchange for more or less XP. My favorite setting out of all of these has to be the carry weight one, and I'm telling you now, if you didn't like the carry weight restriction that came with vanilla Starfield, you are going to love this update because it is so OP. So the penalty, the XP penalty for upping your carry weight is pretty minimal. My carry weight jumped from 250 to 745 units, and that was just on the increased setting. It was just on the increased one. So there's one above that is greatly increased. That increased setting gives me a 6% XP penalty, so it's really not that much. The greatly increased, this is fucking crazy. The greatly increased penalizes you with an 8% it takes 8% XP from you, but it puts my max carry weight, bearing in mind my vanilla carry weight is 250, more than 1,200 units in the greatly increased one, in exchange for 8% of your XP.
This is wild, because traditionally the carry limits in games were an actual technical limitation of like how you're going to store data on where these items are in the world and all the rest of it. It was literally you can only have a certain amount in a table in really old, like going a long way back. Like carry limits were imposed for technical limitations, and the fact that they've still got it in there, like I'm in favor of systems that potentially are challenging to the player, that can add a lot to a game to do that. You don't need everything to be easy and convenient all the time, like we were saying about Blizzard games a little while ago. Sometimes make things a challenge, but
so
Starfield doesn't,
personally,
like the inventory though, just quickly, like it never did that in a compelling way. It was always just like, now I'm standing still, this is frustrating. Like, what if they didn't have a technical limitation? It was that easy to change it. Why did they settle on 250 as the default?
Well, I think that's also sort of affected by your gear and stuff as well. But I think generally, I found the carry weight, or the what felt like an unusually harsh carry weight for someone who is literally out exploring a galaxy on their own, needing to carry stuff could get a little bit frustrating. And I thought of a use case this morning that I think really does make a difference to overall gameplay and experience with Starfield. So one of the main gripes that I've had with Starfield has been traversal feels really, really boring. And I'm really glad to know that there is a vehicle on the way. I don't mean that Starfield is a boring game when I say that. What I mean by traversal itself being boring is that the boost pack is just a really shit option for moving around a planet's surface. And I said in the video, the YouTube, come on mouth words, the review that I put out on YouTube for Starfield, called that out specifically. Like a Star Wars style land speeder would be so much more enjoyable to use in something like Starfield. So I am really glad that there is a vehicle on the way. Where the carry weight changes, and again, it's an optional setting for you to swap that XP out for carry weight, but the carry weight update is really, really nice for this specific use case. All of your clothing and gear in Starfield, specifically your spacesuit, your boost packs, your helmets, are all really, really heavy. I'm going to try really, really hard not to spoil anything. In fact, I'm not going to go near it. But I will say it's slightly less of a concern in New Game Plus, but it is still a concern in terms of you having to account for the stuff that you're wearing, obviously adding into your carry weight, and therefore what you're wearing, including your boost pack here, can affect how you traverse. So for anyone who doesn't know, in Starfield you've got 3 different types of boost packs. You've got a balanced one that is pretty kind of middle of the road, in terms of being able to sort of jetpack. You can stay in the air if your skill is leveled up high enough, or if the gravity is fairly forgiving, etc. You also have I get this wrong now, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically a boost pack that propels you further forward, or there is another boost pack that propels you further upwards. So you've got 3 tiers. You've got the one that prioritizes vertical movement, the one that prioritizes lateral movement or horizontal movement, and one that gives you somewhere in between. When you are restricted by your carry weight and you have a particularly difficult terrain that you're exploring, or maybe you've got a particular gravity setting on a planet that makes movement a little bit of a chore, you having that flexibility in your carry weight to be able to swap your gear out so that you've got a little bit more agency over your movement style, instead of being restricted by whatever you're able to afford to carry. I could see opening that little bit of headroom up for players to be able to just do what they want a little bit quicker. Another one, and I'm sort of bouncing around my note a little bit here, is, so I'm going to come back to area maps in a second, but one of the other things that I've been thinking about with Starfield is I found myself at a bit of a loose end with Starfield. I found myself wanting to play the game, wanting to be in that universe, and wanting to go and explore the Starfield, because I really liked the experience of exploration and the gameplay mechanics within Starfield. I really liked that game. And I found myself sort of wondering whether or not I had enough to do, whether or not I need to go into New Game Plus, etc., etc. But actually, when I look at what I've got in front of me, and I spent some time noting down all of the things that I can do in Starfield that I didn't do the first time around, that I haven't done yet, there's actually quite a lot for me to go and do. And I think specifically talking about the carry weight again, if I was to go and set up a resource farm, that improved carry weight is going to help massively with selling resources en masse, because that felt too much of a chore to do with a limited carry weight. There was also an issue with I think it turned out that it was actually quite easy to transfer gear from your inventory to your ship, but again, you could fill that up very, very quickly if you were doing like some sort of resource farm and planned on sort of selling those goods to make a profit, which is one of the things that I'm gonna start doing in Starfield. So, sorry for sort of jumping around a little bit here. I'm
That's
going to go
good.
back to area maps because that was the other important thing with the update. Overall, feel really positive about those. They look really good and they're really helpful. They're very, very helpful in populated settlements. So it's now really easy for you to find local businesses and mission start points as well. So as a result of this update, I'm actually finding a little bit more to do in Starfield, which is really nice. So generally very happy with the quality of life improvements that have come our way. I wouldn't be surprised if I end up finding a bunch of places that I had no idea existed when I go back into settlements, and all of these waypoints now actually show up in your scanner as well. So there's just a lot less guesswork, because again, that was one of the gripes that I had with vanilla Starfield. So when you're in New Atlantis, for example, and you've not been in the game for very long, but you need to start buying some health packs because you're out of the hand-holdy tutorial bit, where do you go and find those? Because the game doesn't tell you. And there's a big Reliant medical sign. It's very big, it's very blue, it looks very nice. And if you see that and you go, oh, that's where it is, I'm going to go there, that's great. But you're asking a lot of the player to not give them any other advice. And I get that's part of the experience, that's part of the Bethesda game, and I'm all for that. I'm all for the self-discovery. I really like it, but it would still be quite helpful. So I think it's a nice quality of life feature overall. Go on.
Just looping back to the beginning of that, because the obviously they've got these quality of life improvements, and the stuff you were saying about being able to kind of tweak and customize the difficulty and change your carry rates and all that kind of stuff. That is very enticing to me as a reason to go back and play around with it. But like going back to the core issue of the performance mode and the changes that they've made in that regard, Starfield prior to this was a very photogenic game, and I know that you agree because I've seen pictures of your rocks on Twitter. So you've been looking at it and you've been taking those, and the thing that kind of made it so photogenic was predominantly the lighting. So very clean textures and a really nice lighting engine that did stand out and just make things look like you want to capture them. In the performance mode now post update, is that still the case? What are the compromises muddying that?
I've not done my own side by sides, and I think that would actually be a really interesting experiment to do. Just taking some screenshots between the two modes and comparing them in 4K on a big screen, and almost sort of cosplaying Digital Foundry a little bit, which I've never really done. I've never really had a go at doing, but it would be quite an interesting experiment. It's difficult because I think there's something about the game being in 30 that, when you're standing still and you're looking at the world go about itself, it looks quite nice. It's when you start moving, it's when you start getting into the gunplay mechanics that it starts feeling a bit worse for wear. And I think that some of that cinematicness has definitely been taken away with a 60 FPS patch. But the greater good is my gameplay feels better and is more enjoyable as a result. It's a really tough line, but I think really what I want Bethesda to learn from this is that you should give the players the choice. Like, I again appreciated the version of Starfield that we got, loved it, thought it was beautiful, really enjoyed it as a game, but 60 just feels so much better, and I'm glad that it's here. I'm annoyed that it's taken 6 months. A little bit
funny
more,
thing,
something like that.
So you're on performance in 60, aren't you? So Shady is in the chat saying that. I'm not sure if this is according to So Shady or other YouTubers that he's been paying attention to, but apparently 60 and the visual mode is a viable option.
I tried that. The frame rate is way less consistent. Certainly in New Atlantis, which is where I tried it, the frame rate chugs with mine, and it sort of feels like it is trying to sit somewhere between 30 and 60. But again, because I don't have a VRR display, I probably notice it a lot more. So Shady, you're probably right. If you're on a VRR display, I reckon visual mode, because you're right, there's a toggle. You have a 30 target and a 60 target, and if you've got a VRR display you'll have a 40 target as well, and then you can prioritize either visuals or performance. So yeah, I think if you're on a VRR display you'll probably have a better time than I did with going visuals plus 60 or visuals plus 40. But yeah, I found it a little bit rough. I completely agree with that sentiment that Starfield looks flatter in performance mode. That's definitely true. But again, the trade-offs for me, I think they're worth it. It just feels so much better. And I really like shooters. I love playing shooters. So for me, Starfield is a game that I play as a shooter, and it feels a lot better for doing so. I was going to briefly touch on the stuff, and I guess this is kind of basically for anyone who has been playing Starfield, wants to get back into Starfield, maybe is interested in trying the update, but is thinking about waiting for Shattered Space, which by all means, if that's what you want to do that. But I've been craving Starfield for a little while. I've talked about it a lot on this show, and I've managed to resist going back into Starfield because Baldur's Gate is still on my to-do list, and I still need to get back to it. But the things that I'm doing in Starfield right now are I am working on getting the money and skills up that I need to build a high-end ship, because I want to build something that maximizes combat potential and travel distance so that I'm less inhibited by those two things. I'm still really enjoying exploring. I just go to different planets and pick a random tile, pick a biome that I maybe haven't seen yet, and go and explore random areas of interest. I found that quite relaxing, just doing a podcast and just having a little mooch around, seeing some wildlife. Like it's quite a nice experience to do, and I've really been enjoying that. Asa, like you said, I found a really cool rock that I took a photo of, and then a few hours, not real-time hours, but no, it was real-time hours, because I turned the game off not long after that, came back, played for a bit, noticed that it was nighttime, and the cool rock that I found that had like these sort of mushrooms on it, they were all glowing in the dark, and I didn't expect that. And again, like that moment, those moments of discovery in Starfield were, I think they're quite fundamental to the experience of Starfield. Where Starfield falls short as a game that can keep going and going is there's not a lot to do in that open wilderness other than go and see different points of interest. If you enjoy doing that, like I do, good. If you don't enjoy doing that, you might have to work a little bit harder to try and find stuff to fill your time there. I guess there's a certain level of imagination and role playing to it. I really like just wandering around planets and looking at different aliens and watching them tear the shit out of each other, because that's happened a couple of times as well, where I've just stumbled across two alien species that end up killing each other. So there's still, a lot of interesting stuff happens when you go and
you found me and Darge on the planet. That's crazy.
There's a couple other things that I could go and do. So I don't have a crew right now in my ship, and that's partly because I'm trying to build a bigger, more sort of like my end game ship, essentially. I have actually still got a lot of side quests that I didn't touch in my vanilla run through that I could go and do. I have companion quests that I haven't done, so I didn't actually do Andresia's companion quest at all.
Oh my god!
I'm looking forward to getting into that, because I don't even know what it is, dude. I don't know what it is at all. I'm looking forward to that.
Not until you finish Hellblade.
No.
Yeah.
Listen to
if you come back next week and you say I didn't finish Hellblade but I did this side quest in Starfield, I'm gonna be so mad at you. Don't do it. You gotta finish Hellblade before you go into Hellblade 2.
That's not gonna happen. Can't promise it's not gonna happen.
No, just finish Starfield at least 60 times. You'll figure it out.
So a couple of the things I can do, like I mentioned, setting up a resource farm is actually something that would really help me get my ship. I tried doing that before. It takes a while. I'm hoping there's some better, more streamlined guides on YouTube now that make that a little bit easier. And again, the extra carry weight is probably going to help a lot in terms of just getting shit done. So that's quite nice.
Yeah, can I say something on carry? Oh, I'll let you finish.
I was just going to say the last thing that I'm trying to do is up my gastronomy skills because I role played as chef and I really want to unlock all of the meals. So that's the thing that I'm working on as well. So there's
Wait.
for me alone. Go on.
Gamzly, I know you've got a thing, but I need to know more about that. You role played as chef.
I did.
Please tell me that you have.
So my background was chef. What you may not know about me is I like in IRL. I absolutely love cooking. I've never been a chef, but if I do say so myself, I'm a pretty good cook at home. And I really like making food. So it was something that I remember seeing teased. The one of the backgrounds that you could pick was a chef. Back when we first got like our first look at the Starfield sort of character creator and things like that, even before the Starfield Direct. And I remember thinking then, like, yeah, chef is the background that I want to pick. And it was definitely the one that called to me. So yeah, one of the things that I have wanted to do. And again, this sort of comes back to something that I really do have to criticize in Starfield, because while there is a lot of depth and there is a lot of stuff to do, there isn't quite enough. And again, I'm probably asking a hell of a lot, but in this day and age of video games, demand for additional features and depth and just more thought put in and more ambition, it drives the industry harder and harder and harder, and I think that's part of the problem that we have with access.
I'm not done with role playing as chef. I need to know that it's one thing picking the chef background, but role playing as a chef, does that mean you get to like a cube apple and you go, oh, I'm not eating that? Just scoff at the food.
I may have turned my nose up at the odd chunk. I may have, yeah, in favor of a good home cooked meal, maybe a little bit of alien boba tea, or some alien jerky. I've
heard your food tastes all over Twitter and in Discord, and I'm not I don't like it.
We'll have a separate conversation. We could do a whole other podcast on food. I would love to do a whole different podcast on food. You know what? If Gaming Arcadia ends up doing food podcast, I'm fucking there. I'm absolutely. I love food.
Canada food and whatever you do.
Almost barbecue season here as well, or pretty much is barbecue season here. So, episode 13. There is nothing wrong with bacon and maple syrup, my guy.
Yeah, what's wrong with you, man?
Fantastic combination.
Come on.
Oh, sweet and salty.
You cod pretty well too. Cod,
wonderful.
Not Call of Duty, like the fish.
I'm not
fish.
I don't mind fish. It's alright. I eat tuna.
How about salmon?
No, I'm not a salmon guy.
Do you pronounce salmon? What?
Who the fuck says salmon?
Well, I didn't know people said maca either, but shock.
So I mean, like, one thing that I would really love to role play as a chef, and the opportunity just isn't there in Starfield. Like, maybe that opportunity to, I don't know, maybe if there was a way of like, or have we crashed? Have we lost Gamzly?
No, he's just stuck.
Oh no, he's
just raising my hand.
Okay. Fuck's sake.
I was just waiting for you to call me and be like, yes, Gamzly, speak.
Good at that. The last thing that I was going to say on role-playing chef, I really wish that there was a way of being able to use that skill to a better advantage. So things like instead of resource mining being the thing that you then sell, why can't you do the same with food? Why can't you essentially set yourself up as like a galactic food trader? And
I want to get you on an MMO. I want to get you on an MMO to actually socially, obnoxiously roleplay a chef.
That would be.
Oh my god! I'm waiting for it. Like, I'm waiting for the opportunity to actually say all this stuff. But finish up so I could pass it on.
I'm done.
To you.
You had a point about carry weight, so let's get back to that because I know you wanted.
Okay. I have. You've dropped way too much on the table right now because I want to keep asking you all the questions. But first, on the carry weight thing, I'm going to keep this pretty brief. games have to, well, a lot of games do it quite well, but it's something that Bethesda has always done wrong. Like, always done wrong. From Skyrim to Fallout to this, they've always done wrong, but it infuriates me, but I kind of get it, because there is a loop to the feeling of, like, upping your encumbrance, and like that feeling you get when you kind of like get the skills necessary, or you get the horse, or you get like bigger inventory in your ship. Like, there's something to that, but I don't feel
smarter, not harder. Like, honestly, it was about you have to rely on your ship more, you have to upgrade the cargo on your ship more. That's the thing that you have to depend on. It's nice, it's helpful to a lot of players, but like I was quite happy sucking it up, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm keeping that setting on. That's happening.
Yes, and that's what I'm gonna touch on, is that this setting feels like it should be implemented in literally all their games. Like, I like that. How much was it? It's 250 and it jumped to what?
740.
Yeah, 700. So even if it wasn't 745, just do 150. Like, just 150 plus. Just 150 plus would actually really bridge that gap. I feel like it would be so much more balanced on that, because every starting area in every Bethesda game, it's always like, oh my god, I'm having so much fun exploring. Oh my god, pick up, and then like slow down, throw, or like chug back to the, it actually stops exploration at some point, and it's very weird and awkward. And I hope Bethesda takes this and like keeps it as an option for further games and all games, because I feel like that increase is so helpful and interesting. So that's all I'm gonna say on the encumbrance thing. But let's get to the chef thing. Okay.
You want to talk about me being a chef?
Oh yeah, dude. Okay, listen.
What you got for me, man?
Asa jumped on it. MMOs, man. Like, what MMOs have you played? Have you played WoW or Final Fantasy? Like, have you done that yet? No. Oh my god.
No, the only thing that comes even remotely close is a survival game like Ark Survival Evolved, but I wouldn't call that an MMO.
I'm gonna make
here's the thing though, like I'm not it sounds ignorant, because I've never really given it like a fair college try, but I've never really found an MMO that's made me want to get into it and want to get involved.
So you like the D&D stuff, right? You went into the D&D stuff. You jumped in that, right? You played D&D games.
Still fairly fresh to D&D, but actually that's something else I've had a really good time with over the weekend. But I don't think we're going to get the time to speak on that. Although, if there are any D&D players who have not checked out Alchemy, do that, because it's amazing.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. No, don't change subject. I'm going to get you into a Final Fantasy 14 game or a WoW game, since WoW is now part of Activision. All right,
I'll tell you what.
And Xbox.
Will you allow me to count Fallout 76 as an MMO? Because I'm up for... Okay.
Yes, yeah. Okay, fine, whatever. Because all my thing is that I want to get you in there, and I'm gonna do like the whole GTA thing where people just roleplay and you can't break character. I'm gonna get you in the wasteland. You'll be my cook. We're just gonna go around serving people stim packs and rotten eggs and stuff. It's gonna be fantastic. Let's do it, dude. Awesome. I can't wait. Have you dove deep into like the Breath of the Wild and like Zelda cooking stuff? Have you done that?
So I've watched my partner play Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and do a lot of cooking in that, and I really like that mechanic. I really like it.
Okay, cool. You should try it out.
Cool. Yeah.
Anyways, but that's Nintendo. That's all I got. I gotta get you out in Fallout, and you're gonna be my chef, and we're just gonna be running around killing cows and feeding people. You like that?
We're gonna have to find a way of streaming it. That's gonna be fun.
Let's do it. All right, that's all I got for now.
That sounds good.
Right. We're like
any other
an hour and 15 minutes in, and we're still on we haven't started the topics yet, so we should probably
did. I think
Starfield was one of the topics, wasn't it?
It was
We
one
have,
of
we have. So we're doing well. Nobody's got any complaints, which is perfect. So let's go on to Square Enix,
at least
shall
not
we?
valid ones, anyway.
Well, maybe they are, but we're not going to listen to them, right?
Fuck them.
Go insane if we actually do take the complaints on board. I hope everyone's having some fun here. We're having some
Let's
fun.
just talk
here.
about
That's
cooking
what
this
it's all
whole
about.
time and just fuck the audience really
I'm
bad.
well up for that. I don't know if probably
Just-
will be.
Just cheese and
Square Enix.
potatoes for the whole thing.
They like to put some cooking stuff in their games. Square Enix have come out this week, very notably confirmed what they had already told us. So tail end of last year, Square Enix got a new CEO, and he was very forward with the fact that he felt that Square Enix needed to focus on their big games and become more of a multi-platform focused publisher. They've now confirmed that strategy to all their shareholders, made it very official. This is what they are doing. They are aggressively pursuing a multi-platform approach going forwards that includes Nintendo, PlayStation, PC, and Xbox. They've obviously somewhat neglected in recent years. So that is happening. We know games are coming to Xbox. We know that they're also altering their strategy away from doing lots of kind of AA games, lots of Octopath Travelers and Deerfield Chronicles and things like that, more towards their super big budget Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest kind of games. Gamzly, you like all of those games. What's going on with Square Enix?
I do.
What does it mean for you? What are we going to see?
Yeah, so a lot of people, it's crazy because a lot of people are going through this like kind of correction, right? They're trying to save as much money as they can. They have restructured most of their studios. Like Square Enix is one of those studios that have been, or the publishers that have really tried to consolidate their studios and shrink a little bit and really focus on certain things. This is interesting news, and I can't wait for what that means for us as Xbox or PC gamers. I want to see Square Enix as healthy as possible, and this is part of their move to do that. I've said it multiple times. I'm not going to get into the, weird stuff, but I love this. First off, Octopath Traveler. That's the second one is not on Xbox, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So things like that, that never made any sense to me, are gonna obviously be maybe corrected here, and I can't wait. Like I've said multiple times, Square Enix needs to start going to their players that they've catered to. Like Final Fantasy 15, which is so funny. Episode 13's here. He likes Final Fantasy 15, right? A lot. And funnily enough, for me, I thought it was the most meh Final Fantasy, but if you look at the numbers, it is big, like upward of 10 million plus, people that bought that game, maybe over 12 million at this point. It was a very big game. It sold everywhere. It sold on Xbox. They catered to Xbox players. They catered to PC players. They have that audience there, and they just assume that those people are going to go buy a PlayStation 5. Well, it's not always like that, right? So I can't wait to see them go back and cater to those guys. Like, why not bring Octopath Traveler 2? All those people that you got in Game Pass that like that game and notice you and have a PC that, they don't want to jump off and go buy a console. Whatever makes them make that decision, doesn't matter. You have to keep those people and show them your consistency and your loyalty to those players. Like, you can't just give them a game that they love and then make them wait freaking 2 years for the next game, or just hope that they go buy an entire console ecosystem to play that game. It just doesn't make sense to me, and never did. Square Enix games are giant, and people pretend they're niche. They're not. Final Fantasy is not a small title or a small name. They've been stagnating that franchise themselves. It's not PlayStation. It's not, Xbox or whatever. Maybe they shoot the money at them. Yeah, sure. But they're making that decision. They're making that final decision to be like, we're just going to ignore the entire fan base on these other consoles and this other ecosystem for no reason. For almost no reason. I don't know what the reason is. Maybe the bag is gigantic, but it really stagnates their growth. It really does. And I don't care what anyone says. It stagnates their big IPs. People want to get caught up in the hype. They don't want to be playing it 2 years later, 4 years later. Like, they want to play these games now. And yeah, I think the first things coming is 16. I think that's going to be giant. I've said it multiple times that 16 seems to have catered a lot to the Western kind of sensibilities and storytelling element, like storytelling techniques. I think that could have been bigger, way bigger than it was if they went to those Final Fantasy fans on PC and Xbox, especially a return to Switch consoles. Switch 2 maybe will drop with it or whatever, if they could figure out some wizardry to make that fit there. Go to these guys, you know. It could grow them in Japan, you know, even more than they are. Having it on Switch 2 is a big deal. But yeah, finding Xbox fans and PlayStation PC fans is a good thing. And I can't wait to play again, because I did play on PlayStation 5.
There's a few things to it. So Final Fantasy 15, like you say, that was like 10, 12 million, whatever it was. Sales wise though, I think last I saw in terms of platform breakdown was 80% PlayStation, 11% PC, 9% Xbox. So to some extent, I want to see those games on Xbox, but you can understand why it was quite an easy purchase for Sony to money hat that series. Like, it couldn't have been that expensive to buy out that kind of 9% essentially. Yeah. But yeah, people obviously want, like, you talk about Square Enix, the biggest ones, Dragon Quest is big, but Final Fantasy is the standout. And the current Final Fantasies, you've got Final Fantasy 16, that kind of already alluded to that one coming across, because we know it's in development for PC, but they said they are going to other platforms beyond that. And the only other viable platforms beyond that, really, realistically, is Xbox and next Nintendo. So you'd assume that Xbox is in the running for that one. But Final Fantasy 7 is a more difficult question, because we don't know the contract that's in place for that trilogy of games.
Yeah. I was gonna say Final Fantasy 7 is probably the one that is gonna have to wait, because they said it somewhere in the I'm pretty sure I read this, but somewhere, or it might have been Twitter noise, but somewhere within the meeting, you know, he said that remakes will at this point stay exclusively to the PlayStation. I don't know where I read that, but the remakes, insinuating Final Fantasy VII remakes, will be staying there. Maybe that's what they mean. They'll be staying there until, like, say, the third one pops out and delivers whatever they deliver to Sony, and then when the contract's up, then it'll have a big maybe bundle, like Game of the Year bundle or some crap, where they release on every single console after that, or platform after that. But I'm pretty sure they have the remakes locked down. That's my assumption, and I really don't know if that was noise somewhere, but it makes it makes sense, right? That they would have locked that whole series. I think, whole series, but that whole trilogy has a huge.
Okay.
7 remake, and what I mean is the 7 remake trilogy.
Yeah.
Console exclusivity will stand. I thought I read that somewhere, right? But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that they send out like a big bundle at one point to all the consoles, including Switch 2 and Xbox, because at this point they need to really grow that thing. And I understand why that number specifically is huge to Sony, because it started there, right? That was a big name for them, and they have a huge lineage with that one number. So keep it there and make it exclusive. Money had it, whatever Sony wanted to do. It was lucrative at some point for Square, so they took that, and I understand it. But one more thing, that 11 and 8% thing that you're talking about, it's like, yeah, that's fine and dandy, but that's the whole point. You gotta show loyalty, man. You gotta show that Final Fantasy 15 is not the only Final Fantasy game coming to your platform, and then people are going to be less reluctant to buy into the series in other ecosystems. Once they say, and which they did, they say we are committed to, let's say, a multi-platform strategy, that is the best news for everybody that has these systems, including the next Switch 2, which I think is the big one. That I think that's going to really grow their that's going to grow their games, and that's going to grow visibility. Look at Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter, guys, for everybody listening, Monster Hunter was way smaller than Final Fantasy. Way smaller than Final Fantasy. And right now, it is gigantic because it hit on all three. And Thunder strikes, man. And Final Fantasy can do that. Let's not mistake it. It's not an old man game. It's not a weird niche title. It is Final Fantasy. And at some point, the Western audience or the Xbox audience or the PC audience, are when they see that consistency come, and when they see that they could hop on and on a title that they could buy in the next one in 4 years instead of 16, they're going to be like, oh my God, let's hop into it now. Let's be on the hype train. Let's do it. And those numbers will go up, not down. So it's good for Square Enix at the end of the day and good for consumers. But yeah.
That's very much based on the assumption that they can make a good Final Fantasy game, though, which I'm not overly confident in.
Hey, come on. What,
7 remakes.
Do you not like
15, 16? I don't know. The way that they chase Ubisoft. I've not, to be fair, I've not done 16. But
okay.
Typically, Final Fantasy has been on a downwards trajectory since like 9 and 10, really. I think most people that follow the series would see it that way. I consider 7 remakes to be a massive
I will push back. If 16, I will. Well, 7 has everything going for it, right? Because it has the lineage and it has such a strong foundation already that I don't think it was even possible for them to completely misstep on it. But 16 is truly a fun Final Fantasy game. It's just not, and I've been on record saying it before, it's just not, what you combat is really not what you expect for that name specifically. But I like that. I contradictory to what I like that they do try that thing with big titles. Like, that is a big monster franchise, and they're just like, let's flip it. Let's just fucking make it all weird. Like, let's play with the combat a little bit. I like that they try to make it fresh, but 16 you should take a chance.
For me, it always feels like they're chasing an audience that they don't have, and they're not very good at it. Which is why I'm not confident that future Final Fantasies, even like going multi-platform, will necessarily like set the world on fire like Monster Hunter did, because Monster Hunter went, this is our thing, we're doing it. This is our identity. This is our game. We want to make what we want to make. And with Square Enix, I always get the impression that they're looking over at what other publishers are doing in the West and going, well, that seems to work in America. Let's try and do that.
I tend
which
to
is
agree.
it's not a workable strategy. So hopefully, I mean, that could change though. And Deadly Headley, you've been quiet for a little while, so I'm going to bring this one to you. But the other part of it, rather than just a multi-platform approach, they are doing the opposite of what all the podcasters advised. All of the podcasters in the universe advised that the whole game industry needs to focus on AA games and smaller budgets. All of the publishers and CEOs have taken an entirely opposite approach and said we need to really double down on quality and make less games, but really pump up the quality, AAA all over the place. That's what Square Enix have come out and said that they're going to do. What do you think of that angle? If you want to pick up any of the other stuff around Final Fantasy and multi-platform and all of those kind of things, then by all means. But what do you think of the...
So... I quite like big AAA showcasey things. I think my gripe with some of them has been bloat, or perhaps them sort of sometimes feeling a little bit iterative of each other. But generally, like I really like to see a lot of spectacle in games, and we've seen a lot of titles over the last few years where there has been a lot of hype, a lot of budget, a lot of spectacle, and it's just... These games end up being events, and we have had a lot of them over the last few years. But obviously, we've also talked about the fact that the industry is starting to sort of collapse in on itself a little bit, and it's sort of not necessarily facing a full existential crisis, but it's definitely at a sort of pivotal moment where it needs some sort of course correction. And I think really the healthiest move forward is going to be somewhere in between. Because I think if you have every publisher going for big AAA all the time, It's just
Yeah.
going to be more money burnt versus the fact that people now economically have a lot less disposable income because everything's broken and fucked and has been for some time. Um, game budgets are inflating, and we've got, Sony sort of tried very hard to make it the norm, and then Microsoft ended up following suit, and it was, either one of those companies could have done it. So it's not necessarily, PlayStation setting the market price or Xbox doing it, but in this case, Sony did. They went, yep, games are going to be $70 now, and you're just going to have to fucking like it. And actually, a lot of people, I think, as we can deduce from disappointing sales figures that we've seen with like Final Fantasy Rebirth on PlayStation 5, for example, people don't want to spend $70 on every game all the time. It's too much money, and there is not enough money in anybody's pockets right now. And I think that's a big I do think it's a big part as to why the games industry generally is struggling with its own budget problems at the moment. Broadly on the topic of Square Enix going multi-platform, I think it's good. We've talked here before about not really liking that sort of gatekeeping with exclusivity. Despite, I think I've certainly expressed that I think companies, and I include both PlayStation and Xbox, do benefit from having exclusive titles, because when you think of PlayStation side with games like The Last of Us or Horizon, for example, people who really love those games and feel invested in the story and the universes that they've been created, if they want more than that, they know that the only way they're going to get that is by staying in that platform and that ecosystem. But similarly, we've also seen on the other side of that coin is that doesn't seem to be a potent enough reason to keep people in an ecosystem. I obviously get the fact that Square Enix has done this for so long with PlayStation. Like they've been synonymous with each other for such a long time. But I'm glad that I'm glad that a lot of major publishers in this industry now are saying it's not working anymore. It's just not cutting the mustard. It's just not quite making enough. And it's sort of more of that change that we've talked about that we can expect across the industry to, suggest that more of this is coming. There's going to be more multi-platform stuff. We'll end up seeing more Xbox games go to other platforms. We may end up seeing games like Helldivers 2 come to Xbox, because I think Sony would recognize the benefit of what that has done on PC and the extra player base, the additional player base that Xbox would offer. I wouldn't be surprised if they were considering that. And I think, as someone who, so shout out to Xbox Era, because they've often described Helldivers 2 as being the most Xboxy game that PlayStation has made. I look at Helldivers 2 and I think it would play great on Xbox. I could play it on my PlayStation. I haven't gotten around to picking it up or trying it yet, but yeah, I'd be really, really happy to see that come to another platform. And I think these publishers are looking at the same thing, going, we can make more money and we can bring more fun to more people. Why aren't we doing it?
Yeah.
In the case of Square Enix, just real quick, just like because of who they are, and like they are a third party, they are a multi-platform publisher, and they are well established and big, so their development pipelines have to support multi-platform development for them to even be able to moderately entertain the kind of budgets that they're putting into these games. So like, it should be a no-brainer to put their games in as many places as possible. It's not necessarily the case for smaller developers. There are instances where maybe you don't have that pipeline, and maybe actually it is an awful lot more work to build across multiple platforms, quality test and all the rest of it. But the major publishers, that's not like they have to be geared up to do that. So go on, Gamzly.
Yeah. Okay. So, third-party exclusivity deals on major franchises doesn't exactly grow everything around it. It just grows a single platform around it, and that doesn't grow gaming in its entirety. So when you have entire third-party publishers just like truly being third party, putting their big exclusives everywhere and trying to reach, different audiences, that literally grows every platform. Because what you're doing is you're suffocating choice. That's never a good thing. So when you go around, doing these deals for Sony, all they're doing is growing Sony, not even themselves, and not gaming. That's literally what they're doing. They're stagnating themselves and shrinking gaming in general. There's no growth there for the industry if they just stick to one thing and consolidate to one thing. It doesn't help anyone around them, and that's what I want to equate one of Phil's quote of being what he said about Helldivers, he's not sure who that helps it being exclusive, kind of thing to Sony's console or whatever, which is nonsense because I mean it is a first party title, right? But that reigns true to everything else. If you're a third party, you're doing nothing for anyone else but the platform you're selling your exclusive rights to. Because like I said, as time goes on, if you're loyal to the consumers that you go to, and you keep your identity on those platforms, not just pull it away and let those people wait 4 or 5 years and force them to one place, you're going to grow enthusiasm for your brand. But if you just fucking shut them out forever and you just stay on one spot, you're going to alienate so much of your community. It doesn't matter. 11%, 8% of 15 million is still a large amount of people that you might turn off. So I just don't see the point of Square ever doing that. Well, maybe when they were smaller, sure. And maybe you didn't have partners that had a box that could actually support your game. Sure, why not? Okay. But right now, it's not that. Right now, gamers and, whatever, everything's getting bigger and there's more platforms popping up and more ways to play. You should be at those places, growing your audiences and teaching them loyalty. Not just one way. I can't be the only one showing loyalty to a company. They have to show me loyalty. That's why I feel ingrained in Game Pass, because to me, they are loyal. They're giving me stuff I want to play. So I'm there. Same with Square. They got to show me, hey, bro, I'm coming to you. And it's okay, are you going to show up next week? Yeah. Are you going to show up the week after? Yeah. Well, you're my friend. But if you're not doing that, then fuck off. And that's just it. Sorry for my language. So that's the end of that. That's all I got to say about the third-party stuff. I love it, and I hope that they stick to it and they, show quality and show the players that, hey, we're there for you, so I could be there for Square.
See, the only thing that's missing from the equation in terms of how obvious the multi-platform strategy is we don't know as consumers, and I'm sure the likes of Microsoft and Sony and publishers know this, but we don't know the overlap. How many people have an Xbox that don't have a PlayStation? And that's quite a curious thing in terms of how much they're growing their addressable audience. I mean, yeah, there's some people that are sad that they can't get the game on Xbox, but if they've got a PlayStation anyway, then they weren't previously missing out. Yeah, and I'm not advocating for a single platform. I would much rather Square Enix do that. But the other thing, the other change that they're making, so they've said that they're going to do AAA development, all this money and all the rest of it. The thing that is possibly encouraging for me is they're trying to pull back on having a handful of creative leads that dominate and produce everything. And they're trying to make it more of a collaboration, more of a team effort, and get more ideas into the mix. That's a good thing for Square Enix, because like I say, I have my trust in Square Enix, and I use the word hesitantly. I don't like to talk about trust with corporations and publishers because I don't trust any of them, but my confidence in Square Enix is pretty low in general. So if they're going to get more people involved in the creative process, then maybe they can fix that as well.
Yeah. Well, that's a taught helplessness with Square Enix, right? That was taught we learned that. So it's weird, and I get what you're saying. But yeah, overall, what else could we say? Do you have anything else to say about this one, Deadly? Before we
No.
Okay.
No,
So
don't
I
think
have
so.
one more thing to shoot in there. I don't care how much you gotta spend or if it ends up hurting them badly. You Square Enix specifically, you gotta show the consumers that you're pro them, and maybe we'll like you and support you anywhere we go. Because at some point, not everybody's gonna buy 3 consoles, and at some point, the everybody's gonna have like let's say a PC. So just at least go to the PC. I don't know, like go to a PC. Your PlayStation's Japanese presence is not as good as Nintendo's. Go to Nintendo players. Like, I don't know what else to say. Not everybody's gonna buy 3 consoles, and in a changing market, you got to teach customers that whatever device they pick up, you're going to be there. That's your job as a third party, and I don't care how much money you lose trying to teach us that. But at some point, it's going to pick up, and people are going to be taught that they could be confident in buying Square Enix games wherever they pick up their device, and you're going to grow at that exact point. So it takes years. Well, it's just how it works. You just have to be consistent like Capcom and show you're going to be there for those dudes, and then your profits are going to go up. That's just how it works.
So what I think might be quite interesting to see how it plays out is how marketing rights are allocated to Square games, because if Square continue to go to Sony for marketing their games, they'll probably be perceived in some shape or form as still having a semblance of exclusivity, even though it is, purely on the surface level a marketing tactic. And we've seen that play out with so I always think of I want to say it was Randall Thor said that his sister had just presumed that Hogwarts Legacy was exclusive to Sony, to PlayStation, because those marketing rights were there. And I think that obviously that's helped massively with Square Enix and PlayStation, mainly because that's the only way that you can get that. But if Sony keep on feeding their fan base with Square Enix marketed games, even though they are available everywhere, that illusion of it primarily being on PlayStation might still happen. The difference is you're going to get going back to the little logo wars. You're going to see more logos on each game. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe
dude, that's a great point. You make a solid point there, but.
Thanks.
the only thing that matters, just like I'm sure happened to Final Fantasy 15 with those 11% and 8%, which is still a big number in theory, is that when those people that don't care or watch, don't care about, this war or seeing a logo, when they pick up their device and whatever, I don't know, they open Steam, those dudes see Square Enix games consistently. That's gonna blow up their freaking brand. When they see it there every single year, they pick up their box, or they pick up their, they open Steam, or they take an Xbox controller. Every time they see that in their store, it's gonna help visibility of their games, and it's gonna grow over time. It doesn't matter about the marketing, whatever. Just that learned perception of, look, you open the thing, it's there on time, it's always there. It's going to teach those guys that let's buy more, not just leave and go buy a PlayStation or whatever. It just, that's how it works, and it's worth it. But yeah.
Okay, cool. So everyone agrees that Square Enix needs to make some good games and everything will be fine. Let's move on to Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
Cowards and Wankers.
Oh yeah.
That's not the official working title, is it? It used to be Assassin's Creed Red, now it's Assassin's Creed Shadows, which sounds very stealthy. So, set in feudal Japan, 16th century. Deadly Headley.
Can I?
50,
You like Assassin's Creed? No,
1582, something like that. I do
Something like
actually.
that.
Yeah, I do. So, my relationship with Assassin's Creed is a bit of a weird one because I really liked the older games in the series. Like my favorites, my two favorites for Assassin's Creed were Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood. I loved the Ezio series overall, and I didn't hate the more RPG like approach that came with Origins, but I did prefer the older style personally. But I'm really interested in Assassin's Creed Shadow generally. I think it looks really, really good. I think we've seen. I don't think we've seen actual gameplay yet, have we? Did we see a bit of gameplay? Was it mainly cinematic? I think what I saw was mainly
Mostly,
cinematic.
I think it was all cinema, right?
Yeah, I think I might have seen a static from gameplay that looked very nice, but I'm sure that actually. So it's due out in November, isn't it? And I remember when Assassin's Creed Mirage was revealed last year. Bloody hell, they churn those out quick, don't they? How many studios have they got working on Assassin's Creed? It's got to be shit.
Oh man, a lot, I think.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's not the same studio putting out a Creed game every year, but yeah, the cinematic work itself was really, really impressive with what we saw. But I can imagine we'll probably get more of a gameplay reveal at maybe even one of the branded showcases, or it might even be Jeff Keighley's show later this year. I'm sure that we'll get a gameplay reveal fairly soon on that. But yeah, I think it looks good. Generally, my first impressions were pretty positive.
This is a weird one for me. Are you done with your point there, Headley?
Yeah.
This is an interesting one for me because I've been off of Assassin's Creeds for a very long time, and I jump in only when, let's say, they get it. Like, I think I jumped into the last one, Valhalla, when it came to Game Pass. Actually, I picked it up. And I did buy it for myself, but I played it a little bit, then I gave it to my brother. So that was Xbox, by the way. And I went back into it, and I get a kick out of these games sometimes, right? There's always like this surge of emotions that grabs me when I see one of these games pop out, because they are actually so beautiful. They look so good. They play fairly well. They're fun, like combat-wise, they're fun. They've done a really good job in evolving like the overall, I don't know, systems of it, like skill systems and armor systems and all that stuff. They've done quite well. They completely transformed it to what it used to be, which Asa, as we know, probably you didn't like because it's stealthy, right?
I didn't touch him for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. So they really did a good job kind of making a separate identity with it and bracketing out Assassin's Creed games to different genres. This one intrigues me so much. I'm getting the bug again because it's in an era that I just find fascinating, and I think that everybody finds it fascinating, or most people. I just, by the sheer like, just by it being in that era and having that aesthetic, it's going to push me farther than I think most Assassin's Creed got me. I like the Nordic kind of, side of Valhalla. I like all that stuff. But it wasn't enough power to grab me through the stuff I didn't like the checklists, like way heavy checklists, predictability and all that crap. They didn't really teach me much that I didn't know, which I found the biggest blunder. Like Nordic, they have such an opening to teach players that environment at that time, and I don't find that they did. I think they just went too fantasy with it, like genre wise. They went too fantasy with it. They played with it. They made it too unrealistic. If they went in there and told a realistic story with real history behind it, or more historically accurate stuff in there, I think it would have been more impressive. But they didn't do that. So I hope they learned from that and give us a very interesting story with this era of Japan. Because I think there's a lot there, and I think they could hold and grip people, and it's already cool by design. They don't need to make up shit. So
this reveal has
give me Japan.
wanting to jump back into the series. I've heard really good things about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I played it a little bit, but not very much. But I'm tempted to jump back into that. I also see Cygnus in the chat has mentioned Black Flag, which was incredible as well. I love Black Flag. I would like to jump into a Creed game again, because they're not overly hard. They're not overly they're not really stressful. They're not mentally very demanding. Do you know what I mean? We've talked about games feeling like a bit of a slog. I could talk more about the fucking chore list that I've basically rattled off about Starfield, which I'm really excited about doing, but it's still a fucking list of things to do. And Assassin's Creed comes with its own lists, being a Ubisoft game, but they're pretty. They're nice to play. The combat's fun.
So cool.
It's kind of violent. It's got a cool vibe to it. I'm feeling some Creed. I might have to download some Creed this weekend.
The last one was where they tried to go back to the stealthy elements of it. Which one was that called again? What was it?
Mirage. I never played Mirage.
Mirage is actually the interest that kicked. I got my interest peaked a little bit with it. I didn't jump in on it because I don't know why, but it really did pique my interest because it did seem like a more balanced linear story. And
it's
again,
not as bloated
Ubisoft
as the others, I think.
Yes, and Ubisoft is really good at they have history buffs in Ubisoft. They do really deep historical stuff in their games. I think they're really competent and they could build something really fascinating. I just wish that they take what they learned from all the genres or all the Assassin's Creed we just mentioned, like Black Flag, Valhalla, etc., but just lower the scale a little bit and just focus on the stories that you know. Just give me a cool spin on the stories and history that we know, in the books. Tell us that. Make it smaller. Give us the combat that's in these games. Have the action flare combat. Give me cool weapons and stuff. Give me spells, but at least focus it a little bit more. Don't blow it up. And I think that they're gonna find a balance one day. And I hope this is the start of it. But it seems like they already committed to it being as big as Valhalla map-wise, so I was like, I don't know, man. It's just so much intrigues me about this studio. That's why they're so loved. That's why there's so much people keep playing their games. They're good at it. It's just stop with the bloat, and I think people will have a better time.
Did either of you guys play Mirage?
No,
I wanted to.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Fair enough. So there's a couple of things in there. One of them, just now is the first time I've actually looked at the trailer. I played it on Q&A yesterday, but I forgot to pay any attention to it whatsoever. This time I actually looked at it, and my takeaway from that trailer is could have been an email. That's just, it's a CGI trailer 6 months ahead of the game. Just tell me it's in Japan. You spent so much money, but much as people protest and say that they hate CGI trailers, it's not true. People love CGI trailers. I've only seen positivity around this thing. That's not true either. I've not only seen positivity around this thing, but you touched on there, Gamzly. You said that that Ubisoft and the Assassin's Creed studios have some real history buffs in there. This game has upset some people because there's a black guy. And there's a movement of people who are obviously just atrociously racist and being disgusting all over the internet in the way that you expect on the internet, right? But at the same time, Ubisoft, I'm trying to think back to all their previous games and all the settings that they've touched and the amount of effort and research they put in. And the only thing that I can remember, because I don't play Assassin's Creed games, is I remember Assassin's Creed Unity was so buggy that I had a little look at it. And I remember running around and hearing lots of people speak English with a French accent. And it was a little bit jarring. I'm pretty sure they didn't speak English with a French accent then, but I'll take it, I suppose. It's a game, you're trying to cater to me. But, is there anything wrong with this? For me, it's
No.
really difficult to judge because, like, there's definitely a just a malignant, disgusting part of the internet that are upset because they are racist themselves. But there is also potentially another group
I'm
that I
not
haven't
sure
heard
I'm
from.
allowed to use that word on the podcast, so I'll stay quiet.
Fair enough. I want to know what you think of it though, because like, is there any legitimacy? Is there like a group of people that care about their Japanese history more legitimately and have some concerns that they're not getting the representation that they actually wanted, or is it complete horseshit? Do Ubisoft typically respect cultures appropriately, or is this a contentious issue?
I'm going to be really quick on this, and then Headley could like talk more because I like listening to Headley talk. But it's a really hard. That's why it's such a hard balance. I talked about the 3-body problem, and spoiler alert, that TV show on Netflix completely left China, right? Like, it is a very Chinese book by an accomplished Chinese writer, which signed off on it, by the way. And they just made it a global thing in London, and that's the story. They shifted. They didn't even put the main character, Chinese character, didn't put him in there. They split up the main Chinese character into 3 people, white dudes or white chicks, like, you know, and I was like, what the hell? And that shook me. This is a hard conversation to have, because creators, like, I truly believe that if there's a story to be told and there's some sort of interesting twist, like this is Assassin's Creed where you're dealing with futuristic time travel stuff. So if there's a cool story to be found there and an interesting way to include a certain people, then why not do it? Why not do it? I don't think this is a extreme case of inclusion or whatever. It's not an extreme case here. Like 90% of this game is going to be Japanese, or 99%. So I don't know if it's as crazy as everybody's yelling from the rooftop. And I don't think it should be, but I'm not going to speak more on it because I'm not educated enough on this specific matter to say much
that's
about
my
it.
approach
But
as well.
I don't think
like,
it's a big.
I
don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, we don't really like have anything at stake here, though, which is why I'm a massive advocate of listening in this kind of scenario. But it's really difficult to listen because there is noise that is just malicious that takes away from like really understanding if there is anything to it or not. So I don't want to be completely dismissive because there might be people that do care for legitimate reasons.
And that's what that's what I said, right? It's just, when you go back to the 3-body thing, it's like they completely went left side with that, right? In a really weird way. But this is not that, right? This is not, 99% is the opposite way. It's just they added a spin, and we haven't heard about what's going to happen with the spin yet. So I don't know. It seems like there's still enough history in there that is compatible with a lot of people still. So I'm not going to say anything else, but yeah.
So I sort of put myself in the same camp as you in terms of not necessarily being fully informed on the intricacies of the historical context that is being portrayed in Assassin's Creed Shadows. I don't know a huge amount about feudal Japan. I do know that, and this is just based on articles and helpful reading material that has surfaced in the last 24 hours, that has touched on the fact that there was a black samurai in Japan in the late 1500s, and that is the basis in which Assassin's Creed Shadows story is built upon. The discourse, if we're going to call it discourse, is quite frankly a bit tiring because for me as a person of color especially, it feels quite transparent when you see the same patterns usually spewed by the same people, types of people over and over and over again, whenever there is a game featuring somebody of color or somebody who is female or insert other protected category here. And it's boring and frustrating and divisive. And I think, we talk a lot on this show about how we don't really like the console war rhetoric because it's divisive. I personally would extend that to any other type of conversation, whether it be political, religion, etc., etc. I don't like people fighting with each other. It's boring, it's tiring, and it's a little bit depressing. If I think, there's definitely a broader discussion to be had around conversations that are being had online about diversity, equality, and inclusion. Sweet Baby Inc. is still a topic that is quite a difficult one to talk about without attracting a lot of heat. And again, we've avoided that one intentionally on this podcast because it just doesn't seem fucking worth talking about. Because every time people do talk about it, there is one corner of the internet that gets really, really angry for one reason, another corner of the internet that gets really angry for a different reason. And usually what that ends up with is vitriol being thrown at either side arguing with each other, or the people at the center of the story, whether they be Ubisoft developers, the developer for Zao, for example, journalists who are just trying to do their job, even if there is some sort of agenda or intent based on their political leanings, they are still trying to tell a story and still get wrongfully attacked for some of the stories that they're trying to tell. It's a lot, and it's just a bit shit, really.
Yeah.
That's kind of all I have to say on it.
Yeah, I feel bad for a lot of people. Well, I feel bad for a lot of people. Nuances and stuff online, typing and all this garbage makes it really hard to have an actual civil conversation around a topic, because even normal people, even balanced people, get caught up in a very, very toxic mindset when it's disguised very well online without tone of voice and reason, like tone of voice and having a flow of back and forth conversation.
We
like
see it everywhere.
we've seen a lot. Yeah, we've seen a lot of people. We've seen a lot of these people around the internet that are toxic and whatever, and then they go on a podcast or they talk on the phone, and they're regular people that I'm gonna say something really weird. I'm gonna cut myself and say something really weird that Asa is only gonna understand. There's a lot of I bring up this Taekwondo thing a lot. It's like you're a black belt, third Dan, and you're trying to teach Taekwondo to your white belt, student, and then that white belt student goes home and meets his karate friend in the schoolyard, and he tries to convince his blue belt, black belt karate friend that Taekwondo is the best and here's why. And it's just like, yeah, these are not the people that you're supposed that should be on the street yelling from the rooftops trying to teach how a beach huggy is thrown. It's the black belt that's supposed to. And that's what social media reminds me of like a bunch of white belts running around that don't actually know the problem, right? Don't actually know the topic. And they're trying to talk like they know the topic. They're trying to talk like they're that black belt and teaching you something, but they don't. They don't know how to phrase it, but it doesn't make them bad people. They just don't know how to phrase it or understand it, right? Yeah.
As a society, and I think what's really frustrating about social media and actually just the society that we live in is a lot of it is algorithm driven in a negative fashion. So negative content trends more, outrage trends a lot more, and that in itself is emotionally exhausting if you're not part of that psychodrama, which is thankfully the vast majority of the population. FTW said in chat, like, Twitter isn't the place for nuance, and that's absolutely true, because it's really hard to get nuance in 140 characters unless you're a clever individual who knows how to use words effectively. And even then, it's a little bit hit and miss. And I think, the larger sort of culture war topic, quote unquote, is generally quite horrible at the moment. It has permeated Western politics. at the heart of government, our governments rely on culture war to win votes at the moment. We're literally seeing that happen in the UK at the moment, and we'll see it happen in the States as well this year because we've got elections in both countries. And it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't solve any problems. All it does is encourage somebody to hate somebody else.
Mhm.
And I would really love somebody to tell me with a straight face why that is good for anybody, because I don't think it is ever.
Yeah, and at
No.
the end of and for people that try to correct some of these toxic people, remember that there are people that are again white belts, that are not in front
He's
of
not
your
actually
face.
being racist, by the way. He's using a metaphor in case any of you
Yes.
fucking idiots get triggered.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, please, God. Oh, did you actually have to say that? Oh my God. Okay,
People are
these guys-
that stupid, Gamzly. That's the
there's
problem.
no way. There's no way. I don't. I don't believe it. There's a bunch of these. Yeah, analogy here, guys. A bunch of these white belts running around that just don't understand the thing, and you yelling on, you yelling back and forth for on a toxic person. You're not really helping. You gotta let someone like Deadly or somebody that understands the topic or understands the way to actually talk to that person to calm them down or to change their mind or whatever the fuck the case is, to teach them a lesson. Not white boy number 5, that has no idea what's going on to calm down those same people. But anyway.
For me, on that one, I didn't want to completely gloss over the topic. It is, like I say, it's noise and hate that I'm not interested in, and it's really difficult to know if there is anything valid underneath it all. But what I find is, if you're born and raised in New York and London or something, and you're raising your voice because you don't like the representation of feudal Japan, your voice is suspect immediately. It just is, and most of it is not coming from a place of legitimacy. It's just hatred. I don't know. It'll be interesting to hear more from people that do have a more valid perspective, though. Is all I was bringing that one up for. We will listen. Best I can do. Let's move on to another topic. Gamzly.
Sir. Yeah.
We've run quite long, so I don't want to cover all of these, but you mentioned Game Pass specifically. There's been a big Game Pass drop this week of 11 odd games. Pick some highlights that you want to go into from them.
Okay, so Lords of the Fallen. So this is a studio. Oh my God, I didn't write the studio here, Asa. I'm a terrible person. I forgot the studio. Do we remember the studio name of the Lords of the Fallen? Headley, do you know? No, huh?
I don't.
No. Let me have a quick look.
13 did one of them, but I don't think they did the most recent.
Yeah. So Lords of the Fallen, one of the devs that made the recent Lords of the Fallen reboot kind of thing, they're going through some harsh times. They've laid off a lot of people. So this is dropping in Game Pass. It's a pretty awesome... Hexworks. They're going through some troubles, I think. I'm pretty certain about that. And this dropped in Game Pass. It is a beautiful looking game, from what I've seen. This has been on my wish list since the very beginning. It dropped to, middling reviews, not low, but not high. I think it deserves some attention. I think you should play this. The first Lords of the Fallen was freaking cool. And this looks like an upgrade in almost every way. So go check it out. That's dropping on cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S in Game Pass. I don't know when, but it is coming this month. Immortals of Avium. This is another studio that said that, this game didn't perform well, unfortunately. Again, middling reviews. But I have heard, if you're around the podcaster / YouTuber realm, a lot of us or a lot of people out there have gloated about the game. They find some fun in it. And this is also on my wish list, and I'm going to be playing that as soon as it drops. Also in cloud.
There's a
PC
review for that one. Immortals of Avium. There's a review for that one on this channel. It's a very nice review. It's spoiler free. Check that out. It is very quick summary. I find it quite fun. I actually quite like the game. It is a simplistic Hollywood hero's tale in terms of its delivery, but it's decent. Go play it.
Yeah, go do that. It's out today, I think. This one is out today, or should be. And another one, obviously this month, dropping next week, Hellblade 2. My God, if we don't play that, I don't know what's wrong with us, because that game is beautiful. Another one coming out this month is Moving Out 2. Moving Out 1 was awesome. I don't know if anyone play it on this panel. Moving Out 1. Oh my God, this is Headley. Oh, Asa, you have family. If you want to hate them even more, play this game.
Don't hate my family.
Beat each other up. Yeah. Go play this one. Cleo and I have played the first one, and Cleo and I have played Overcooked 1 and 2. Incredible games. These games are lovely. Go play it. Yeah, Overcooked is so great. If you liked Overcooked, Moving Out is also very well done. Go play that. And then there's Chance of Sonar. I know that this is out today. Maybe it's not a game that's interesting to most people here, but it looks pretty awesome. So if you want to go check out a trailer, that's going to pop out. And NHL 24, obviously, if you're Canadian, you like hockey, go play that. And the last one is Firework. This is the one I would actually recommend on the list when it does drop this month. Firework is a Japanese investigation 2D kind of game where you investigate a fire in a hospital, I believe, that kills multiple people, and you're trying to figure out what happened. And it's getting some crazy good reviews. It's on my wish list for a while now.
Really good. Looks really good.
Go play this. If you want to see some user reviews, go on Steam. If you trust that, and check out what people are saying about it. It's overwhelmingly positive at the moment, so that's a good drop as well for Game Pass. It's only PC though, so that's a sad thing. Yeah, I think those are my call outs that I wanted to call out. Do we have a little bit more time to do rapid topics? Or
don't think that your controller topic should be a rapid one, and I think we should prioritize that if we've.
Okay, you want the controller one? Okay.
Let's jump into that.
Well, the other rapid. Oh, can I do the other ones just really quickly? Just at least read the headlines.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah. We'll
these are big. These are big as well. Toys for Bob teases. They put out like this jade mask looking logo. On Twitter to tease something. I thought they were working on Spyro. It is Jade, so it could still be Spyro, but I think it's Banjo. Like the whole, totem. Yeah, the whole totem thing. I don't know. It looks like a totem to me. That looks kind of Banjo to me, but it's a good tease because it could be interpreted in many ways. So.
Yeah, it could be.
If I had to guess, the totem design would suggest, Banjo.
So when they broke off and became an independent studio, they said keep your horns out, listening or whatever, and really hinted at doing a Spyro game. This being a mask has Crash vibes to me. It looks to me like it's supposed to be a mask, but I'd still, if I had to guess, I'd still go Spyro. But we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's a good tease, because it could be for people that know Bandicoot. This would suggest that, right?
Hope not. Crash Bandicoot sucks.
People who know Spyro, the jade kind of look to it is also a very Spyro thing. So yeah. Anything else to say on this rapidly?
No, other than I'm glad that they're teasing something, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're cooking up.
Awesome. I also want Spyro, by the way, Isla.
Yeah,
okay.
I would.
The cool Fortnite collab thing. This was actually an entire article that could have actually been a pretty cool deep dive topic, but we could save that for later. It just goes deep into why Lego's connection to Fortnite has been. It's very interesting. They're doing a lot of collabs through Fortnite, and they explain in the article that I could probably on GameIndustry.biz. They go deep into what Lego and Fortnite are trying to do, and it seems really cool and interesting. So if you want to read something interesting about Lego and Fortnite, go look at the GameIndustry.biz article on why Lego sees their like a future with why Lego sees its gaming future in Fortnite. So go check that out. It's a cool read.
So they're expanding beyond the. Just a quick question. So they're expanding beyond. They did the Lego Survivors mode in Fortnite, which was supposed to be very good, but I never touched it. They're expanding beyond that. They're doing more.
Yes. Yeah, they're making like a lot more. They're gonna they open their assets to the public as well. So anyone like the Fortnite building stuff, like you could make Lego games kind of sort of thing in this. So it's a really interesting. It's an interesting move by Lego. They also hint at different islands and stuff that they might be building. So go read up on that. That it's a cool little thing. Anything on this, Deadly?
No. I actually still need to play Fortnite's new modes and
No, you don't.
experiences and stuff like that. You're right. I probably don't, but
Not until you finish your Hellblade.
Yeah, and Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah,
I really need to finish Baldur's Gate 3.
I'm gonna come over there and kick you in the heel because that's the only thing I can reach. But yeah, okay. Okay, so next one. UK sales are down. I'm gonna gloss over this pretty quickly, but the UK sales for UK sales in general are down this year because of obvious lack of big AAA games, which I find interesting because it has been a very good year if you're looking at Dragon Dogma and all that stuff. So just another interesting little interesting stats to go look at. GameIndustry.biz is what
They all ran out of money next.
From. Yes, they all ran out of money. No, well, there's a correction. There's more deep stats in here that could be interesting to read. So go read that one up. It's also in GameIndustry.biz. The title, PC and console games sales fall in Europe over April as major releases dry up. European monthly charts. So, take it with whatever. There's always ups and downs in the industry, but they do write up an interesting little article there. Okay, Activision. The other one is Activision opens new studio in Poland. This is actually a big one that could, on any other day, be a headliner as well. So they open a Poland studio called Elsewhere Entertainment. Apparently, division within Activision Blizzard is now working on AAA narrative games. So
AAA
this is interesting.
Boasting talent from devs from The Last of Us, Witcher, Cyberpunk, and Uncharted.
Yes. So that's very cool. What I will say first, and then I'll open up to you for other things. This is intriguing to me just by the sheer IP they have in their arsenal. They don't really mention if it's a new IP, from what I read, but
it is.
This is
it's
a new IP.
Narrative-based game in a totally new AAA franchise.
Did they say that? Why did I gloss over that? Okay. Oh my god, it's right there. Okay, this is
okay. We're tight on time.
This is cool.
Anyways. Okay,
but yeah, that's cool. Awesome stuff there.
Game of the year 2029.
Yeah. Next. We actually I want to
point just to touch on this quickly. And it's literally just a call out from. Was it Jez that wrote this? Jez Corden wrote this from Windows Central. One of the sort of subheads that he's put in there to quite nicely sums up this bit is some good news being a rare glimmer of investment in a tough time. Because as we've talked about on the show, we have seen tough times from both Microsoft's side and Sony's side in terms of studio management, studios closing, people losing their jobs, etc. These companies keep on trying to make more money, but they are still at least willing to invest in studios, start new projects, and fund new stuff. So, good news. Let's hope they pull it off.
And good news that
Yeah,
Activision
hopefully.
are showing an interest in the AAA space still, rather than we've made a new Candy Crush studio.
Imagine
We
it's
thought
like
we could
we've
get
opened.
creative, but we just wanted to print more money. So
We
fuck you
closed-
guys.
Yeah, we closed Tango to expand on Candy Crush. I was like, oh, God damn it.
Get ready for Candy Crush 2, bitches.
Oh my god.
Is that the
yeah,
title?
we're making. Yeah, no, it's just
Candy Crush
it's
2
just
bitches. With a colon.
no, the next game is gonna be like Hi-Fi Rush, and it's gonna be Candy Crush. You know, just a Hi-Fi Rush, and it's just popping things. Anyways,
Fucking Candy Crush DLC.
Yeah.
It's just like so much-
it'd be so bad. Or Candy Rush, and it's freaking
this
Hi-Fi.
industry's so fun.
Okay. So laughing at dark times. So yeah, now this one it hits close to home because it is the Proteus controller kit. This is a new accessibility controller that I find super fascinating. It's coming from the program that Xbox set up, I believe. What was the name? I don't have the... Oh, I'm just going to click this link that I had that I didn't do it properly. 1 second. There's an initiative that the Xbox is doing right now to help creators build accessories. Let's see. My God, what is the exact? Because I want to be accurate on this one. I can't find it. But this comes by their by a program that they're trying to like go make controllers and accessories for different people with disabilities, and this is the first, one of the big projects coming out of it. It's a
Designed for Xbox is the program.
Which one? What is it?
Designed for Xbox, and this is made by BioWare.
Designed for Xbox. There you go. So they scouted out this beautiful dev team that have been trying to launch this project for a very long time. They have a huge social account on it. It looks like they've been pushing for this project for a long time. They've existed for a pretty long time, and Xbox picked them up and collabed with them here. Not bought them. That's not what I mean by picked them up, but are collabing with them for this special project. This controller looks like everything that I've been looking for since I'm a person with a disability, looking for a very long time. Me specifically with my disability. If you don't know, if you're listening to voice recordings of this or whatever on demand, I have 2 fingers on each hand. One of my hands doesn't even bend. I don't have an elbow on my left arm. My right arm, I do have an elbow, but it's very short. And there's 2 fingers on it. Obviously, 2 fingers on each hand, like I said. It's very hard for me to play games. I have to use my knees a lot. I have to use my legs sometimes, like to reach triggers, and shooting games I have to like press on it with my leg and rest it on my leg. It's not the most comfortable thing. It's screwed up my back a lot because I have to like hunch over to reach things and to press things properly. So my back has had problems for a very long time. This looks beautiful because I've said it multiple times. There are controllers that exist right now that go for a target audience, but they're not perfect. For instance, the PlayStation 1 is just targeted at a way different audience. So it's not for my disability necessarily, and it's very hard to explain why. And I don't think I want to go that deep in this specific topic for that purpose at the moment. But yeah, it's just not for my disability. And the Xbox One is the closest thing that I had to having a controller that makes my life a little bit easier without too much setup, but that's just the problem. There's just too much setup. It's big. I can't bring it everywhere easily that I want to go, and it's very expensive. And I use one thing on it, For context, I'm a claw grip gamer. Again, I use my legs for the triggers, etc., etc. And I told Asa and a lot of people in a lot of podcasts that I've adapted to a normal controller. I can do it. There's obvious limitations. So the Xbox controller, and why I'm an Xbox fan in the first place, is because the offset joysticks for my certain situation help me a lot. I could reach all the buttons for the most part. There's genres of games that I can't, and that can't be competitive in, or be good at, and that's shooters. Like, shooters are so hard for me because of the reach of the analog and the triggers. So to round it about, this thing is completely modular. So it has they're like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 5 compartments to this controller, so they're like little orbs that you could click out certain accessories. So if you want a D-pad, you could like put a D-pad in a certain spot. If you want the buttons to be closer together, you can do that. It's like it's so hard to explain. Oh my god, I'm butchering this. It's so hard to explain.
I've got the image up at the moment. You're kind of getting there. Yeah. So a lot of people said when they saw it immediately, like, oh, anal beads for the experienced user. They're quite big. Yeah. But they are. It looks like 3 orbs and one that's slightly off-shaped. But the key thing about it is it's very, very customizable. So each of those button circles that you can see on it, you can pop off and swap around the position, and you can also reconfigure the orbs to be like a desk-mounted thing, something that you grip. There's just a lot of different ways to use it, which the more ways you can use it, the more different people it's going to be able to help out. That's what the device is. But carry on, Gams.
So sorry, it's so hard to describe what I actually mean in a very fluent, elegant way, because there's so much stuff that there's little details about these things that I can't really find the words for, but I'm super excited. It's like all enthusiasm, it's all excitement, because what I was trying to explain was that I've got adapted to a normal controller. I can use them, but there's small details that I wish would have made it would make a perfect controller. So if, for instance, on an Xbox controller, the analog stick was, I don't know, like the Steam Deck, where it's right next to the buttons and therefore next to right next to the triggers. That position of the Steam Deck, like if they took the screen off of a Steam Deck and shrunk it, okay, that would be my perfect controller. And this makes that possible. I could have my 2 thumbsticks near the triggers, you know what I mean? And that makes all the difference for me. And then you could also have the grips attached wherever you want. So you can make these weird, awkward kind of connections, and it just works. Like, if you look at the website, they do some wild stuff. They make it into a joystick. They have even these little plugs, like these little feet, that you could actually make it stand up on your desk and like play with thumbstick and click buttons at the same time and use it like a keyboard. Have you seen this?
Nice.
They have one of the pictures here. It's like they connect 4 of these little orbs in a square, and then they put little feet on it, and you could have an analog.
Yeah.
And you can have you seen that? And you could even put the triggers actually facing up.
So if you pull that article back up and scroll down,
that's the image that was on there, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you're seeing that, like, you could put it face up, standing, and have triggers there too, if you so will, like where the face buttons are. It's really cool. Like, I don't know.
Hopefully this means that you can game more comfortably and more flexibly than before. That's awesome. That's really, really cool.
Just this is such a unique idea that I did not know about until now. And I freaking Xbox, if anybody ever listens to this that has a connection to Xbox, clap them on their back for trying to, put this forward and collaborating with these guys, because this was not on my radar before, and this is my perfect controller. I haven't had it yet, but from what I can see with those small nuances that I could manipulate with the certain button layouts is crazy. You could remap all of them, like all of the buttons are remappable. So you could have, like I said, if you want a face button to be a trigger, that could be a possibility, you know? Like everything is very customizable. Yeah, this looks so cool. Like Asa, you said the other day that you're interested in this, even as an
Oh, I'd
able-bodied
get
person.
one. Like, I wouldn't want to
Yeah,
get it at the
so
expense of
because
someone
you
that
wanna-
needs it more than I do, but a controller
Yeah,
that's
yeah, but-
completely flexible and customizable to just be able to use it how you want to. Absolutely.
Yeah, you were talking about that, you know, moving with a keyboard is a little awkward. So for you, you would have it propped up kind of like a little joystick and then put one of the little legs on it and just use it like that, and then have like a mouse on the other hand. And that's completely like, you can do that with this controller. And I find that so fascinating and interesting, even for literally everybody. And that's awesome. I love the Joy-Cons, but what I didn't like is that exact thing, is that my other hand, so I could use a Joy-Con on my left, but my other hand can't really do that. So now that I could have a Joy-Con on the left kind of thing, and then play with my mouse, I mean, it's Gucci, baby. You know what I mean? I'm ready. It's awesome. Go check this out.
I'm really glad to hear
if you
that.
have, if you know anyone with a certain mobility issue with their hands or whatever, this could be for them. Go tell them about this. Yeah, I'm picking this
That's
up.
really good news.
Easy.
That's really
Very
good news.
expensive too. $299. It's a little expensive, like USD. But
I reckon
the
Asia should try and score you a review unit. I don't know whether or not that's doable, but
Asa.
I think we should ask.
Ace is like, yeah, good
Right.
luck with that, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure I've got the contacts.
I
but
mean, we've
obviously-
got a pretty strong candidate for one, so
Dude, I'm gonna do it. Honestly, I have a way. I could go yell at them or try to get noticed. But yeah, I certainly would pay upfront for this too, though. Like I'm gonna pay this full price no matter what. These people need it and we need it. So I feel like for the first time I should support this in a big way, and that's what I'm gonna do.
awesome. I'm glad that you're here as an advocate for it and as a voice for people who also live a similar life to yourself in terms of limitations for the hobby that they love, and for you to be the voice of advocacy and support this product is really great. So I'm glad about that.
Yes, sir.
Right. Besides that, I think that was the main topics that we wanted to cover, wasn't it? And they were good topics. We had a couple of other little bits and pieces, the photo mode in Hellblade 2. I'm sure we can cover when we get to Hellblade 2 next week. So for now, I think if we just get through the questions that we've got, and then we'll wrap up for this week. So again, thanks everyone for coming through, talking to us, listening to the nonsense, listening to the silliness, and talking back to us is brilliant. Isla, if you're there, can we have the first of the questions, please? I don't know how many there are, and if we'll get to all of
If you
them.
have enjoyed yourself, by the way, and you haven't already, please hit that like button and share our podcast out and leave a comment and all of that good stuff, because again, really helps support us and helps the channel grow. And we have seen some exciting growth on this show, so yeah, let's keep it going because it's been really, really good. So thank you for your support as well.
Absolutely. Isla's yelling that she's always here, and I've got to stop saying if. Look, I'm giving you a way out if you're not there. Stephen Southwick has asked, do you think that the Game Pass price increase will be announced after the showcase or the separate Call of Duty showcase? And if so, what impact do you think, if any, it would have? What do you reckon, guys?
So we don't know if there is one coming for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was, based on how everything else has been going. I can't imagine it would be a huge price increase. And I think actually if the value proposition is managed quite well by Microsoft, by going, you know how you really liked Game Pass before? What if we give you the same Game Pass that you already had, but we're going to put a buttload more games in it because of that time we spent $70 billion on them, and we're probably going to charge you an extra couple bucks a month so that you can play Call of Duty without having to pay for it up front. You can play all of our Activision back catalogue. which hopefully is going to get added via some sort of big red shiny button during the showcase. People are always going to push back on price rises. Like no one wants to pay more for stuff. Unfortunately, everything is getting more and more expensive, and I think like I'm not trying to play the tiny violin for the $1 trillion company, because I don't think anybody should. But the production cost for everything is going up. If we compare it to something like Netflix, it's costing more to make films because everybody's wages are having to go up because inflation is driving the price of everything else up. Studio rent is going to cost more. Camera equipment is going to cost more. All the minds and bodies that you need to produce this stuff, they're all costing more, and unfortunately those costs end up getting trickled down to the consumer, even though the $1 trillion company can definitely fucking cover it.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like the Game Pass price going up, everybody is used to subscription services going up, and you hear a little bit of noise when it happens. People are like, oh, I'm cancelling. But typically your Netflixes, your Disney Pluses, all the rest of it, they know how to push subscriptions up, and it's no different for Game Pass. They'll push it up when they need to. I don't think they'll do it like immediately following the showcase, because they'll just be introducing a negative angle on what should be a positive time for them. It'll just happen quietly on a Friday evening at some point between now and Call of Duty. What do you reckon, Gamzly? When's it happening?
Boy, I would guess first quarter next year. You know, somewhere around
That's
there.
not actually a bad guess.
Yeah, first quarter of next year, and that's it. I don't have much else to say. It's inevitable. Yeah, it's inevitable.
All right, let's do the next one, please. So Shady, you'll need more than old games and a new Call of Duty each year to be cool with it. Yeah, there's definitely going to be some people that are not cool with it. But the price is also definitely going to go up. Got a question coming from Kev, which is going to be any moment now. This is a long one, so we're having it pasted into chat. So with most of the games from last year's E3 showcase yet to see the light of day, should games more than 12 months out be shown off at these events? Should they maybe leave the games further out to an on the horizon event or a film roll? What are your thoughts on the showcase in general? Yeah. Time frames,
Gamzly,
how early is too early?
What are your thoughts on
I'm actually I don't know. I don't see the problem. I mean, these things are gonna be like, okay, showcases in most area, like when E3 was happening, those had an objective. You had to sell your product to more than the consumer. You had to sell it to the to developers and bring people in. So typically when they were shown off, it took less time to come out and hear about it, because dev cycles were just lower then, and you would get the game a little faster because things just took less time to make. Now is that not the case? So you're going to get a lot more people showing off their game, and it like earlier, get people in there, get some talent, and then the dev cycle is going to hit, and they're longer now. So you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see, look at this game, and then 4 years later you'll get the game, instead of like, look at this game, and then 2 years later you'll get the game. I think it's just the time that we're in. Yeah. That's all I gotta say about
So for me, I don't like the really early like teaser trailers and things that are miles out. I'd much rather the bulk of the show, the focus of the show, is things that are coming out in like 12 months or so, without that hard commitment on date, because we know they slip and they miss them. I'm forgiving of the really early teaser trailers, because the alternative to a teaser trailer is finding out from a leaker or something instead. And like, as soon as these companies need to start hiring and staffing up to build a game, if they haven't got ahead of it and told us that it's coming, then we're going to find out through avenues that they don't control. So teaser trailers are kind of a necessity in that regard. So we're going to see some.
I quite like that balance of the two. I think that time that Xbox tried to show everything that was coming in 12 months it's a valiant effort, but like when you
Mhm.
don't deliver on that, and they missed that target massively, because I think both Starfield and Redfall, RIP, were as part of that 12-month promise, and both of them missed their window, didn't they? So you know, I think arguably that was a bit of a weird time, because it was still in that sort of post-COVID, mid to post acquisition for Bethesda timing, where it just sort of just a bit off and a bit unfortunate. I I quite like having a mixture of the two, in terms of having some stuff that I know I'm going to be playing within the next 6 to 12 months, and stuff that is further out, because I think actually I I like knowing that there's more stuff coming. I like knowing that there's stuff to be excited about, both as, you know, a content creator, someone who likes doing journalism, and someone who now hosts a podcast as well. It's nice to be informed of these things. It's nice to be excited about more stuff, even if that window of release might be 18 months to 2 years plus away. But it's also quite frustrating when you end up seeing something
Perfect
2
Dark,
years
yeah.
out, more than 2 years out, and then don't hear anything. Things like, I really enjoyed the Fable reveal last year. I almost wish that we didn't know that Fable was coming before then, because I think it was first announced in, I want to say, 2020. If the showing that we got of Fable was the first time any of us knew about it, I wonder if the hype levels would be significantly bigger than they were when we saw the preview last time, or when it was announced before. I think Fable's still going to hit. It's still going to do massive numbers, and I'm really excited for it. It just, I don't know, kind of personal preference. You can go either way.
Yeah.
Man, I'm hyped
Right.
for Fable. I'm
Yeah, so am I. But you know, like, Fable's a good example though, because if Fable came out and was a brilliant game that had zero marketing, zero trailers, zero hype, ultimately I'd still be just as happy. It is the quality of the releases really means a whole lot more than the marketing beats to me. But the marketing beats and the showcases are fun in their own right. So next one is God Emperor Sofaking. Have you played the Starfield update? It's really good on PC. So God Emperor Sofaking, we were talking about that before you got here. Deadly Headley's been playing it on the Xbox a bunch. I mean, Gamzly haven't touched it yet, but he was talking about some of the things that you can tweak on the encumbrance and difficulty sliders and all kinds of fancy things like that. I'm still going to wait until Shattered Space myself, though. Then I'm going to go into it bigger.
It was, we talked about that quite a lot. And yeah, I've sort of been quite thorough in my thoughts and first impressions on that, if you want to go back and check it out, Sofaking. But yeah, I'm generally quite happy with it, and I'm glad you're enjoying it on PC.
Yeah, I'm ready to play that. I'm just waiting for Shattered Space. I did say last week that I was diving back in, I believe, or did I say that on another? Can't remember. But yeah, I've been messing around with Starfield here and there as my little. I sprinkle it in randomly certain days of the week. So yeah, I can't wait for Shattered Space to really jump in again.
Okay. Next one is from episode 13, and you have to bear in mind this is from episode 13 and not me, so this is not my pronunciation. He says, great show, guys. Gamzly, you silly plume. I've never played Final Fantasy in my 40 years on Earth. Also, it's Salomon and Mucha. It's pronounced correctly in the UK. I don't know why he's saying it like that. Episode 13, you've not nailed any of those pronunciations, but that is the message.
Good.
Not a question.
Who the hell said? Was that not episode 13 that said 15 is good? Who said 15 is good?
No, that's Tony and Stephen Southwick.
Ah, damn it! It was Tony. He eluded me by my sheer dumb memory. Tony. Okay, everything I said about 15, I pointed back at you, Tony. All right, not episode 13. I'm sorry, episode 13. And it's true. It's Maka. All right, episode 13, Maka.
Okay, next one, please. Now, I've actually forgotten how I say the word if I am trying to ask for once. It doesn't matter, right? You've confused me.
I said Maka.
That's what I always said. That's what you corrected the first time. I don't know. I'm very confused.
No, it's Mocha. Mocha. Anyway.
Pete wants to say nice things. Shut up a second, Gamzly. Right. Not an arse lick. Do you three know? No. Do you three now? How good a thing you have going. This show has so much potential. Hope it becomes massive with whatever changes it needs over time. And then a kissy face, but that's for me, not you two. Thank you, Pete. Much appreciated. Kind words and support.
You know what has to change, Pete? Pete, the only thing that has to change is Asa embracing the brotato. All right, and also Deadly's I don't know, love for The Last of Us. That's all. That's all that has to change. And then it's all
dare
good.
you?
Brotato.
Slander.
Well, I told you I've been looking for a game to play while I sleep, so Protato's perfect for that. Let's have another question if there are any more, and then we'll wrap it up. But thank you, Pete. That is like kind words do actually. They go a whole long way, so it is nice to hear. NateStateGames.
And we're really proud of the thing that we have built. By the way, like just to answer that question, we don't know how brilliant it is. We're going to rely on your lovely feedback, but we are very, very proud of it.
Yeah, we need more feedback, by the way. Everybody needs to comment or talk to us a little bit. Give us feedback. All the
even the bad stuff.
Or the joy.
It's all good. Yeah. Mostly the joy. So, NateStateGames, just for fun. You're a PlayStation exec and you're looking through the plethora of PlayStation exclusive titles. You need to reach a wider audience and want to test 2 games on Xbox. Which 2 games would you pick? So if you wanted to test the waters, you're a PlayStation exec, you've got your exclusives. I'm assuming we're talking first party here. We can probably include Helldivers in the mix. PlayStation published games.
I already know.
What are yours?
Say then, use words.
SOCOM and Revive Resistance.
You would test the waters with a PlayStation 2 game? When was the last SOCOM?
Remake it. Or make a 2.
No, not remake it. You're not going to test by doing a whole new game for Xbox.
Listen to
One
me.
of the existing
SOCOM
ones,
would
Gamzly.
crush. SOCOM would crush. And Resistance Fall of Man would crush as well. Yeah. Would do it.
And what about you, Deadly Headley?
I would pick Helldivers 2 because I do think that actually would do really well on Xbox. And fuck it, I'm going to say The Last of Us because I love that game and I really want everybody to play it because I think it's brilliant, even though a hell of a lot of people have played it. There will be people on Xbox, like myself, until very recently when I picked up a PS5 that, I hadn't played it until lately, so... Yeah, more of that. I love that game, and I'd share the love for it. SOCOM's a great shout.
Choices. No, it's not. Nate, telling me failed the question. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, thinking you can't slip away really now. You attacked my SOCOM. So let's see what you got. Huh? Peggle or some shit.
Got Wipeout and Ridge Racer. I want it to be something that's not done okay for them. Because like Last of Us would be like Xbox fans would massively appreciate. Well, yeah. Like I'm sure it would be well appreciated. People would enjoy playing on that platform, but it's already done fine, and it's like part of their identity and makes people buy a PlayStation. So I don't think they'd be in a rush to do that. If I was looking at it from that perspective of trying to test the waters, I'd want something that was only scraping by at the moment to see if you can make something viable in that scenario. So I don't know actually. Well, no.
Killzone.
No. Current games. I'm not going to put some PlayStation 2 game on the Xbox and say you're going to love it.
Killzone?
No. Stick Horizon over there. Why not? Now that you got me on Gorilla, stick a Horizon game on it. See how that does.
Oh, God.
That's Yeah. Well, you're testing the waters from
the only real answer.
Not fan perspective.
The only real answer is God of War. That's it. That's the only real answer. If we're talking about recent, I would go God of War.
Yeah, and you're probably talking about the first one because okay, cool. Yeah, we'll do that. Loads of PlayStation games. Spider-Man would definitely do numbers, but that's not like testing the waters in the same way. I don't know. I'm overthinking it. I think just stick whatever over there. Who cares? Thank you, Nate. I don't mean that dismissively. Like I do appreciate the question. Sorry.
We've lost Isla. That's okay.
No, we haven't lost Isla. She's still there. We had the last question. That was all. So she's closed them off.
Oh, okay. No, she's not on Discord anymore. Never mind. Fine.
Oh no, okay, fair enough.
Sorry, we're straight up just breaking the fourth wall here, chat.
That's fine. The questions are done,
maybe
so I'm
she
sure she
got
had something
so
she needed to
angry
run
at
and do.
Asa. That's what happened.
Probably. That's like a
Yeah.
constant state of being. Most people are constantly angry with me if they know me. There we go. So we have got to the end, though. So that is another... Deadly Headley said he wanted to do a short and sharp one today, so I failed him miserably because it wasn't short and sharp, but hopefully you've all enjoyed it. Deadly Headley, please tell me that you've enjoyed it and tell people where they can find you, what you're up to.
I've had a great show. I always have a great show here. Like I really, really love doing this, and this show is definitely a big highlight for me each week. It's really nice, it's really easy, it's really fun, it's really chilled, and we always have interesting, nuanced, informed discussions, and they're always good to have. Obviously you can find me here every Thursday. You can also find me on my YouTube channel, which is just Deadly Headley. Fair warning, it won't be this week. It might be next week. If not, it will be the week after. But I am working on quite an interesting video that is going to upset some hardcore Xbox fans, because I am going to argue in favor of Halo, the Master Chief Collection, going to PlayStation. After we've had some reports this week that there are no red lines on Microsoft's side. So watch out for that, because it's going to be an interesting one. You can also find me on Twitter at deadlyheadley_. And that's about it.
Perfect. Keep going with the videos. If you're not already subscribed to Deadly Headley's channel, please do that and give him that support over there as well, because it puts the effort into the videos and they are nicely edited, no matter what you think of where Halo Master Chief Collection may be going. Gamzly.
Thanks, Asa.
You are busting out of that cell, right? This is the last time we're going to see you in there. Tell everybody like what else is going on, where they can find you.
I can't wait to get out of this cell, honestly. Yeah, next week you should see me in my new place. It's not yet finished, but you get to see a different backdrop from my prison cell. Yeah, so every week find me right here on the Xbox Series podcast, on the Gaming Arcadia YouTube channel every Thursday, 3 p.m. Also in our Discord, yapping and blabbing around and fighting with Darge and throwing pitchforks. No, it's all love, with love and respect. And also you can find me on X at Gamzly TKD. Follow me there to find out what I'm doing with every other podcast that I jump on, or YouTube channel that I guest in. I'll be posting information there. So that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna plug.
Big
for
one
now.
for you this Saturday, because it's a fantastic show with some incredible hosts. Our boy Gamzly is going to be on Mr. K. Asante's show this weekend on Saturday. So watch out for that, because it's a really great show. I had a really fun time there the other week. And I'm jealous. I want to go back on because it's a really good time.
Oh shit! So that's it wasn't being nice. It's just jealousy, huh? See how that
Just a bit of both. I'm proud of you. And I love K. Asante and Everborn Targo.
Yeah, I've been.
It sounds fun.
Yeah, I didn't plug that, but I should. So yeah, Saturday morning, come see me there. Yeah, come see me there. I've been on there once before, and it was a good time. They're good, fun people, and they're well informed on the stuff that they talk about. So that's nice. Yeah, find me there too. Thank you.
Perfect. And I'm here all the time on Gaming Arcadia YouTube, on the Discord. If you're not already on the Discord, I have been trying to open up more of it so you can get involved in conversations if you're not a member and all of that kind of stuff. So hit the link that's in the description and get over there. I am back on to doing reviews and things now. They take me a while because I am quite thorough with them and quite slow on particularly the kind of playing and scripting side of it. So but we are reinventing the way that reviews are done. We've got quite a good little system going that people seem to like. So if you are listening on Spotify, please be aware that Gamzly is sticking his tongue out trying to lick his microphone. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but he just breaks down from time to time. And on that...
I'm sorry.
That's it.
I'm
That's
sorry.
the end. We'll see you next time.
Chronic, no. I love it, Chronic.